Hey, everybody, welcome. It's the Low Carb Football Party with Brian and Greg. Greg, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, Brian. How about you?
I am doing good. Sorry, I'm adjusting my mic. I should have done that before we got live.
Yeah, I'm
All
doing the same
right.
thing.
So tonight we've got an interesting Thursday night game. The Kansas City Chiefs against the Denver Broncos. The Broncos have not been playing well, so um, their defense has been quite uh, bad, I guess I'll say.
Yeah.
So be interesting to see what happens in this game. For everybody tuning in, thanks for tuning in. Say hi in the chat. Let us know where you're from. Tonight we're gonna have a topic of um, getting started on a low carb diet. So whether that's keto, ketovore, carnivore, Atkins, whatever it is, it's low carb. We're gonna try and touch, our thoughts and our experiences on getting started and so forth. So we'll be talking about that. And we'll be giving updates here and there about the game as it goes on. So, Greg, why don't you get us started off here? I'm going to share something here. This is, so I wanted to, at the beginning here, just kind of talk a little bit about some things that we got going on. And I know that we both have um, stores now online where you can buy t-shirts. So let's start with yours, and I will add it to the stage here so people can see it. So why don't you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, I've got quite a few different shirts in there. There's the My Weight Loss Life, the club shirts. I'm going to actually grab one and maybe hold it up here too, but you can kind of see them there with the pig on it. Those come in 10-pound increments. So say you've lost 10 pounds and you want to show that off, you can get the -10 pound club My Weight Loss Life shirt. They go all the way up to -100 pounds, and I'll be adding some other ones too. And I also have the 25-pound and 75-pound clubs as well. Then I just have some other fun shirts that I made. Keto Cutie shirt. I've got that one. I need another belt. I need a new belt club is another one. And then also there's a couple of shirts. I'll grab a couple here. This one, I don't know if you guys could see it a little bit, but fueled by fat, not by carbs. I got that one. And I even have some stickers in my store as well. I got 4 different sizes that you can get. And let's see here. Sorry guys, kind of all over here, but this is the one I'm proud of, my 100-pound club loss shirt. They come in a variety of colors, but they're just kind of fun, if you join the club, it's something when you see that shirt, there's a lot of kind of hidden meaning behind it, but people ask you questions because there's a funny looking pig on there. But the reality is that's all you can eat, all those foods that's on your shirt and lose weight. So that's what kind of makes it interesting, I guess. How about you, Brian? I know you got a store too.
Yeah, so let me bring mine up so I can show everybody. And add this to the stage. So here is mine. I'm actually wearing the Carnivore
Yeah,
Strong shirt here. I don't know if you can kind of see Carnivore
nice looking.
Strong.
Very nice.
Yep. So I have 3 different styles here. There's the Carnivore Strong one. If I go and show me more, there's Carnivore for Life. The shirts, and aprons and so forth. 100% carnivore. So there's a few different shirts here off of my shop as well that you can go to. What I actually should do, and I didn't do, is I should put a link for everybody on our
Oh yeah, I was
store.
gonna say if you're looking for my store, if you just go to one of my videos in the description below, it'll have a link to my t-shirt store, for sure. Same thing if you're on Instagram, there I have a link there as well. So I just want to welcome everybody that's joining the live tonight. Thank you. Go ahead and put where you're from in the comments. We'd love to see where you're from. I seen there was a couple. There's Western Australia on there. Hello, and yeah, it's awesome to see everybody coming in.
Yep. So that was Greg's so everybody can see it, and then I will put mine in there.
I have mine pretty reasonably priced because I just want to make sure, I'm hoping that most of the shirts you could buy for $20 with shipping are pretty close, maybe a couple dollars over, but it just all depends. Some of the shirts are made with some different material, but I can pretty much make anything.
Yeah.
Oh, someone from Iowa's in the house. I love to see that.
All right, let's take a look at what we've got here so far. So, Catalina Treats Carb Free Kitchen says, hi guys. Hello. Meeting Wellness. Hey guys, I'm here back from my doctor. It's a good story. Anyway, I'll be ready at 6. I'm eating my ribeye. All right, so Chrissy is going to be one of our special guests tonight that'll be coming in throughout the show. We'll have some special guests. She'll be one of them. So she's in West Coast. So when she says 6 p.m., she means 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, so forth. All right. Who else? We've got Sandra from Western Australia. That's the one you were mentioning. And Simpson,
Football party guy.
hey, football party guy. So I'm never going to live that one down.
It was classic. It was good.
And he is from Iowa. So
Yep.
that was the one from Iowa. There you go.
Awesome.
All right. So I think Facebook is running. For some reason, I got a weird error when I tried to post something there on Facebook, but I think it's running. So, and Chrissy says she's from California, Pacific time here. So you go there. All right. So Greg, you recently had an interview on your channel just a couple of days ago. You want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, I talked to Carnivore Scott, and we sat down for about an hour and chit-chatted, and we had a great I don't know, it's a great collaboration, you could say, and it's the video's done really well, and people are tuning in and liking it, and Scott's very good with his words and brought a lot of wisdom and knowledge to the interview, and yeah, it just went really well, and it's nice to see that take off. And I hope more people go see Carnivore Scott's channel. He does a lot of late night. He'll be on tonight, probably towards the end of our show tonight. He'll be live, and make sure you go check him out because he's on every night. I actually made an appearance on his show last night, so yeah, it was fun. There's always good conversation there of all different things, so for sure.
Yeah, cool. And I recently did an interview with Semiretired Bob, so that's on my channel if you want to go check that interview out. It was a great interview. He's very easy to talk with. Makes the interview easy because I don't have to ask a whole lot of questions because he does a YouTube channel and everything. He's really comfortable with it. He's been doing the channel for quite a while, like over a year, I think, a year and a half, something like that. And so it was a very good interview, very easy to go through, and his transformation's amazing. Just a little bit about it. He actually had to have a triple bypass surgery at one point. He had gout really bad and stayed away from meat because he was told that meat caused gout and caused problems with gout. And he was very hesitant to even go to carnivore because of that, but he eventually jumped in. No gout issues, eating meat all the time, and he's in so much better shape. He was at a point he couldn't really walk, and now he's walking all the time and stuff. And just a great, inspiring story. So you should go check that interview out.
Definitely.
All right, so it looks like they're getting ready, or they're coming out to the field. The Chiefs came out to the field.
Gonna say, Brian, who do you like in tonight's game?
Well, I think I got to go with Kansas City. They just might score 40 or 50 points, I think, because Denver, they just don't look that good. I don't know. Their defense, I mean, they gave up like, what was it, 70 to Miami?
Yeah.
And I know they've had some other games that have been closer here, but they just can't seem to figure out how to win. And Kansas City is a really good team. So those are my thoughts. What do you think?
I think Kansas City will win. Deep down, I'm probably cheering for Denver just because I like the underdog and why not? But, I don't know if Kansas City will get any helps with the refs tonight like they have the last few games. It seems like they've been on the good side of all the calls, and I kind of question that a little bit because it seems like lately they're getting all the calls. And I guess they played my Vikings last week, and there's no excuses. I mean, Vikings lost, but there's some questionable calls in that one too that weren't called, and you start to wonder what's going on.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I've seen it in other games too, so it wasn't just that one.
Yep. All right. So let's go to our topic really quick of getting started on a low carb diet. Greg, what are your thoughts about what you do to get started with low carb? Whether again, like whether it's keto, ketovore, carnivore, Atkins, whatever. Just what are your thoughts for it? How's the best way to get started?
I took some notes here, and I think the first thing I wrote down is, if you're thinking about doing some kind of weight loss plan, you got to commit to doing it and make the decision. That's the first step. If you want to change your life, you need to commit to whatever decision you make and make sure you go after it. Um, I think that's number one. And just make sure you commit to doing that. Number two, obviously, I think it's important to understand the whys of why you want to go on a weight loss plan. I always like to add in there, know the what. What caused you to gain weight? Was it the standard American diet? Was there, uh, did you have food addictions? Did you have other issues or problems that caused you to gain the weight? And I think it's important to take a look at those. And that's something that I talk a little bit about as well on my channel. But, I think it's important to not blame other people for you being overweight. It's important to own your part in it. And it's important to do that. And the other thing I put down is, it's just as much a mental journey as it is a weight loss journey with whatever plan you're going on. And a couple other things. I could obviously go into more detail, but I'm just going to kind of roll through some of the things. I think right thinking plays into it. I'm real big on this is not a diet, it's a lifestyle change and a way of life. To me, diets are temporary, and you have to look at it as I'm going to live this type of lifestyle the rest of my life. Now, it doesn't mean you can't make adjustments. I'm just saying you need to change how you look at everything and how you plan. If you're going to go on any kind of weight loss plan, make sure you do the research to pick the one that's best for you. In my case, I evolved. I started off low carb, then I was doing keto, then I was doing ketovore, then I evolved to carnivore. And it took that, I've only been on carnivore for 5 weeks now. So it's one of those things, it kind of goes with the old saying that I like to say, work the plan, adjust the plan, but never quit. And that's the thing, you continually want to work that plan. If you fall off the plan a day or two, I shouldn't say fall off the plan. Say you have a bad day, you get right back on the plan. You're not quitting the plan. So I think it's important to do that. Other parts that I think are important, especially if you're looking at a low carb or keto type diet, I think all of them, to be honest, I think you should track your food so you know exactly what you're eating, especially first starting out, because you may not understand that you've been overeating for a long time. And until you track that, you may not realize that. So that's one of the things I think that's beneficial. Obviously, doing any meal planning, I think, is a big part of it. Plan 7 days at a time. That way you kind of know what you're going to be eating. It'll keep you on track. Measurements and pictures, make sure you guys are going to do that when you're going to start a plan, and make sure you journal and vlog your journey. I think it's important, so that way you can go back and compare notes, because you aren't going to remember things a few weeks down the road. So it's important to write stuff down. I think that'll help you if you go awry or you struggle with something. You can go back and look at your notes. Obviously, setting goals is important as well, doing a weight loss plan. That way you have a target to hit at, and understand that the goal could adjust and change. That's part of it too, whether it be weight loss, a health goal, exercise goal, any of those type of things. And I think another key is just make sure you look for inspiring stories along the way. It helps keep you focused and motivated. And like I said before, life happens. If something happens and you go off a day or two, that's okay. Get right back on it, though. Get back on the plan, because life does happen and things do happen. But it's important to just stick with the plan and keep working it.
A lot of good info there.
Yeah.
And I agree with all that too. So there's not really a whole lot left for me to say.
Sorry.
No, that's good. That's good. Um, but I will say, like, one thing I like to talk about a lot is making sure that you ease into any kind of dietary
Mhm.
changes that you're doing, and that goes for any type of change in your diet. Even if somebody's out there watching this and they're thinking about going vegan, and they're doing standard American diet, it's the same thing. Slowly ease into that. I personally would go more low
Yeah.
carb, high fat, not vegan, but no matter what, if you're changing your diet, you want to ease into it because your body is used to a certain way of eating and it takes a little bit to get adjusted. So um, a good thing, like what I actually did was I unintentionally really eased into it because I kind of wanted to ease into it, but I eased into keto and did that for a couple of months. And then I knew at that point that I wanted to do carnivore and I moved over to carnivore. So I really eased into going to all the way to carnivore, right? Um, and for somebody that's thinking about doing carnivore, for instance, that might be a good way to do it is to start out, first just eliminating things like sugar and your vegetable oils and other types of seed oils, sunflower seed oils, that kind of stuff. And then eventually eat, over the next few weeks, get rid of more carbs and go into keto. And then maybe, go to ketovore at that point, which ketovore, after you've done keto for a little bit, ketovore is like less than 10 carbs. And then if you're still wanting to go to carnivore, then that's pretty much no carbs at all. That's a good transition way to go into it. Um, so that's something that I always, like to put out there that it's a good way to do things. There's lots of people that just jump into it, and depending on your situation, maybe you do want to jump into it. Maybe you just have a lot of really bad health issues, or you have a lot of pain, and you want to get rid of that pain as quickly as possible. So you might jump into it. And if you do, just be aware and be prepared that you're probably going to have a little bit of bathroom issues for a couple weeks, and you could potentially get what they call keto flu, where you just don't feel good. And it's kind of like having the flu or something is what it feels like, for a few days or so. So just be aware that that kind of thing can happen when you first get started if you jump right in. Um, and I think, a lot of what you said was good. There are some things that I did when I first started, like I kept track of how much I was eating and when I ate and so forth, and that was pretty good for me. I had an accountability partner
Mhm.
that, somebody that I just was friends with, and we actually in Facebook we created our own little private group, and we would post what we ate in there, so we had accountability to each other of what we were eating and so forth, and just did like that. So that's always a good thing too. Um, and yeah, I mean, just a lot of what you said, really. I don't want to rehash the same
No.
stuff. So a lot of that
Somebody may
stuff
just
just
be tuning
works.
in though, so I don't think it's a bad thing, but I agree with everything that you said and accountability and having somebody to do this with is a huge deal. And I talked about that in my video that I released today about me and my wife and how we kind of held each other accountable and helped each other. And it's really good to have a partner in crime on your weight loss journey, whether it be a family member, a coworker, maybe just somebody online. I think it's a major help and will help you succeed for sure. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
right on with what everything you said too. So that's all great. And I'm with you. I guess I kind of look at it as I would start low carb probably if you're just new to this and you want to learn it and understand and then progress through to, eventually carnivore if that's what you choose to do. I think that's a good way to do it. And when I say low carb, I say under 50 grams of carbs. If you're doing keto, you're probably 20 or less. Some people will say 30, but I always tried to keep it under 20, I guess, when I was doing it. And I'm talking regular carbs. And then like
Hmm.
ketovore is under 10, basically. And like you said, you get to carnivore and you're pretty much 0 or 5 or less, I would say, probably for sure.
Yeah. So I will say that there's a couple of things I didn't really do early on that I probably should have done. So let me go through those really quick, because you can learn from my experiences. Um, I didn't take pictures really. So I have very few pictures of the early progress. Most of my pictures are pretty much after I started the YouTube channel or around that time, when I had already lost like 60, 70 pounds or whatever at that point. So there's very few pictures that show how big I really was and, the really big, cheeks and that kind of stuff. And then the big difference over time. But so I have a lot more pictures now. And it's funny because like my face is just so much different. Like it was very round. Cheeks were, really big and so forth. And it's much better now. So that's one of the big things is, taking pictures. Another thing is measurements.
Mhm.
Measurements are huge, and I think they're more important than the actual weight on a scale.
Yeah. The non-scale
So
victories are a big deal for sure. And I
yeah,
measurements, I actually did a video this week on measurements and, I don't know if you had a chance to see that, Brian, but after losing 100 pounds, I lost 29 and a quarter inches on my body. Um, and it's amazing when you see the measurements. I mean, you think about a yardstick is 36 inches and it's like, that's a long, it's a lot of inches. So yeah, it's
yeah,
fun to see the measurements. I mean, especially when you're losing eight inches off your waist. I mean, it's like, wow, it
hmm,
really sets in.
yep. And then for some people, they don't lose as much weight as they think that they should be. But if they pay attention to the measurements, they will see that they're losing it in the measurements because what happens is you're also gaining muscle. So you might not see quite as much on the weight side as you do in actually losing body fat. So that's a key thing there. And I
Yeah.
didn't do a very good job with the measurements and so forth. So that's one thing you can learn from me is you want to make sure you take those measurements and celebrate when you've had good, changes, good success and so forth.
Yep, definitely. I see there's a
Um,
question there, the
yeah,
720 mark.
let's go into things here. So first, Simpson says vegan, back to standard American diet, keto, and now carnivore. All right.
Yep, that's great.
And then here's his question. Are your wives also carnivore now?
My wife is not. She pretty much does intermittent fast. She only eats supper. Just she's OMAD pretty much, but I would say she's keto. Was what she does, but she eats a piece of meat just like I do every night. It just may not be as much. Where she may have some avocado toast or a salad. So she's keto, but she makes it work and it works for us.
Mhm. All right. So my wife is not doing carnivore. I've been the only one in the house doing carnivore, although my dog is doing carnivore now. So there's two of us, I guess. Um, but yeah, I'm dropping my mic again. So my wife is not doing carnivore. She talked a little bit about doing keto, but she hasn't really gone into it yet. So she's been kind of talking about it. So it's interesting. But she doesn't eat necessarily a whole lot. She eats like twice a day. So it's not like she eats a lot or anything. She doesn't need to lose the kind of weight that I needed to lose or anything either. So that's kind of makes a difference as well. But yeah, I've been the only one in the family that has been doing carnivore. My kids now are they're all out going to college and so forth. But even when they were back here, they weren't doing carnivore. My son did try it for a couple weeks, but he had some bathroom issues and he just didn't get past that. And I couldn't get him to get past it. So he kind of stopped. So I'm hoping at some point he'll try it again, but he hasn't. But my dog is carnivore now. So we kind of transitioned her and we started with, we had food left in the bag, the kibble, and she would have that in the morning. And then in the evening, she would have chicken. Um, and we pretty much are at the point where she's almost completely carnivore now. There's still a little bit of kibble left that gets mixed in the morning with the chicken, but very little, just to finish that bag off. And then we have the full chicken dinner. I think in the next maybe 2 days or so, she'll be completely 100% carnivore. So she's been doing that now for a few weeks, and she really loves eating the chicken. And personally, I think that I've noticed her being a little more active than she was. Um, So I don't know. It's kind of early, so I might just be interpreting that, and it's not real. I don't know, but that's what it kind of seems like to me. So I'll keep you updated on that. But yeah, my dog is carnivore now. All right, let me catch up on some comments here.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yep.
it feels pretty good, I must say. And I'll say that even when the weight stays the same and you measure, sometimes I can tell like my pants are getting smaller all the time. It's kind of crazy. But even though lately, my last week or so, my scale really hasn't moved, but my clothes are getting looser.
All
Hi,
right.
Becky.
Yep. So Becky says I am heading out for a walk, so we'll be listening.
Have a good
All right.
walk.
Thank you, Becky. Chrissy says that her cat is carnivore now. Cool. So she is going to be one of our special guests tonight. So remind me to ask her about how that's going with her
Mhm.
cat and what she's doing. All right. Simpson says, LOL, sounds like my son. Both my cat and dog are carnivore. Husband, no. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. There's more and more people that I've been hearing that have been feeding their pets carnivore diet, whether it's a dog or a cat. Especially dogs, I've noticed people doing that. So that's great. It's definitely what they would be eating if they were in the wild. They've only been eating the dog food that's, the processed dog food that's made ever since they've been domesticated by humans. So definitely an interesting thing there. All right. So what's going on in the game?
You know, I
Beware the
it went away to
commercial.
commercial. Denver was kind of moving the ball. We were in Kansas City's territory, but I don't think anybody scored. I kind of missed the tail end there, but unless they kicked a field goal, but I don't think so.
Okay. So if anybody has any questions for us, go ahead and post them and we'll get to them. If you can just put a Q in the front of the question so that we know that there's a question. And again, our topic today is getting started on a low carb diet. So especially if you have any questions around that, there's anybody out there that's watching that's thinking about getting started, or they have just recently started and you have any questions, definitely send them our way and we can share our experiences and so forth. Um, and again, we're going to have a few special guests on today. So we'll have them come on at staggering times throughout the show. So, we'll see how that goes. All right.
It's
So
not
yeah,
back
they're
from commercial
still in
yet.
commercial. I wonder what happens.
These
Usually,
commercials are
commercial.
longer than the actual game.
Yeah, that is true. All right. So, on the topic here of getting started on a low carb diet, um, one thing I want to bring up, and then you can kind of share what you think on this as well. But sometimes people that are getting started feel like they have to do what they're seeing already out there on like the YouTube channels for people that are that have been doing the diet for a while already, right? And um, usually that means that they are looking at OMAD or even 2MAD or something, and they're coming from a standard American diet or whatever, the standard diet in another country or whatever, and they're eating probably 3 or 4 times a day, and they find it difficult. And when you're first going onto a diet, it can be fairly difficult then too. So if it's already going to be difficult, my suggestion is to just go into it eating the same way that you currently do. So if you currently eat, let's say, 3 meals a day, start going into low carb with 3 meals a day.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find that you're going to end up fairly quickly getting to the point that you get full and you're not hungry enough to eat those 3 meals. So you might go down to 2 for a while, maybe even go down to 1 at some point. I did 1 meal a day for a while, then I went back to 2 and so forth. But don't just jump down to 1 or 2 just because that's what you're seeing other people do. Get adjusted to it, doing 3, 4 meals a day and so forth. So what do you think on that, Greg?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think when I started, I'm going to do 3 meals. Well, after one day, I'm like, I don't need to eat three meals. So I went to 2 meals a day. And once in a while, I'll do a little fasting and just have OMAD. But I need to get back to that a little more and do that a little more often. But I find that my body works better if I eat two. Otherwise, if I just do one, I tend to want a snack. Especially in the afternoon, about 2:30, 3 o'clock. I'm ready to eat something, and I really don't want to eat a whole bunch of food if I'm doing my one meal at supper. So I tend to eat my breakfast at lunch. So I'll have 4 eggs with a pat of butter. Sometimes I'll put in sausage. Sometimes I'll put in bacon. That's usually my lunch. And then at supper, of course, I have meat. Like tonight, I had 10 ounces of sirloin with like 3 or 4 pads of butter on it. It was delicious too, by the way. And I'll say this: first time I cooked steak in an air fryer tonight. I did my cast iron. I did 2 steaks, and in the air fryer, I did 2 steaks. And I just wanted to compare the two because I had not done it in the air fryer. I have not used the air fryer all year, but you know what? They turned out perfect, and I could not tell a difference in the taste. So
Hmm.
uh, definitely, I'll be using the air fryer more. And I think it took me 9 minutes. Total for the steaks, so they weren't that thick, but they were good though, definitely. So just to kind of give you an
Good.
update on the game, it looks like Denver must have turned the ball over, punted, and Kansas City has the ball and is moving it. There's 6 minutes left in the first quarter. So
All right. So we have a question, but before we go to the question, I wanted to bring this up. So Eric said, "Sounds like Brian is using the wrong mic. It sounds muffled." Did you notice that? Maybe I had my face or my mouth
yeah,
too close to the
to me it
microphone.
sounds the same as it has been. I mean, I guess I don't notice it being any different, but
Let me talk from back here. Does it sound better back here? I might have been too close to the
yeah, I
microphone.
think so. I think it's
Okay.
not as muffled. Yep.
All right. I think I was just too close. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we do have a question.
How you doing, Eric? Just wanted to say hi to you. I seen you posted.
All right. So Simpson says, what sort of exercise, if any, are you doing? I'm asking this while doing my interval biking right now. Do you do any exercise, Greg?
The first 85 pounds, I did 0 exercise, and a lot of it had to do with arthritis issues and so forth. Was struggling with my health, but the last 6 weeks I was in physical therapy, so I was doing exercises there. So, and continuing forward, I'll be doing walking and some of the exercises that I learned from physical therapy. I'll be doing some of those as well. So, I think it's good to move your body a little bit for sure. And that's one of the things I didn't talk about on a low carb diet is, I think it's important to get the weight loss plan in place and then add exercise as you go, especially if you've not been exercising, because it's like you're asking your body to do a lot. One, change entirely how you eat, possibly, and then trying to exercise. It's like, well, let's work on getting the food and the meal planning and all that stuff done. And then you can add in some exercise, moving your body. Even if you're not very mobile, you can always do some chair exercises sitting in your chair. Just moving your arms up and down will help you. So keep that in mind, especially if somebody's not very active out there, or maybe they're extremely overweight and they just haven't moved around a lot. It's like you got to start out slow. So that's one of the things. And obviously, consult with your doctor before starting any kind of weight loss plan. Me and Brian are just 2 YouTube guys that are sharing our life experience with you and what we've been going through. But it's always good to consult with your doctor before starting any diet plan.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, I will talk about like when I first started. When I first started, I didn't really do very much exercise. I did some walking, but I wasn't doing any weights right away at that time. But fairly quickly within a month or two, I started going back to doing weights because I was lifting weights before. Um, and so also part of that, I guess, is before carnivore, I had AFib and I could recreate an episode or have an episode of AFib start up just by lifting heavier weights. So I was a little hesitant there for a while. And is probably about a month in, I was maybe a little bit longer than that I started noticing that I wasn't having the episodes because I was having a few a week. And then I started slowly going back to lifting weights, and I got to the point that I was lifting more weight and heavier weight than I was before, and I still wasn't going into AFib, so that was good for me. So I was doing a pretty good job with lifting weights for quite a bit of time, probably up to about the 1 year point. And I was getting a lot of exercise and a lot of walking and so forth. The last few months, last like 3 months, I haven't been lifting weights, so I need to get back into lifting weights again. And haven't done as much walking either. So I need to start getting my steps in. So I recently, on Monday, I went to the doctor and had my most recent blood work done. And I have a video coming out tomorrow that I will go over those results. But overall, they were really good. The
Awesome.
one thing I noticed though is that my HDL actually went down some from where it was 6 months ago. But again, I haven't done much exercise in the last 3 months, so I think that is probably the contributing factor. It's still better than it was before I did, keto or carnivore or anything, but it's just a little bit lower than what it was 6 months ago. So I am going to be doing a little more exercise and so forth, and hopefully that'll help to bring that back up again. So that's where I'm at with that. Let me see here.
I was going to say, Brian, one thing I found out when I did the standard American diet, it was 12 years ago, 13 years ago, and I lost like 80 pounds. I was eating like 1,400 calories a day and working out 4 or 5 times a week. When I lost that weight, I could not lift weights. If I lifted weights, I would not lose any weight. It was the weirdest thing.
Hmm.
I pretty much did cardio to lose the weight. But for whatever reason, I suppose I was building muscle mass and it didn't want to cooperate. But that
Yeah.
was, like I said, that was 13 years ago. I was a little bit younger then. So, but I
Hmm.
found that to be interesting for sure.
Yeah, I think that definitely could be the possibility there, because that's something that, especially if you don't have a lot of body fat to lose, people notice that as well. That if they're working out and they go to a low carb high fat diet, um, they're building so much muscle as it is, and then doing that with working out, excuse me, that they end up finding that they're not really losing weight. But if they check those measurements, like we talked about earlier, check those measurements, they actually see, oh, but I'm losing inches in my waist. So I actually am losing the body fat, but I'm not really losing the weight because I'm gaining muscle. So yeah, so I'm not sure what's going on with my mic. It's the same mic from last week and everything. So if it's still not working right, I don't know
It does
what is
sound kind of
wrong.
like you're in an empty room or whatever, a little bit, for
Hmm.
sure. But I mean, I can still understand you and everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I just tried something. I don't know if that made a difference. Did that make any kind of difference?
Mm,
Not really.
no, not really. Not too much.
Okay. I have no idea what's going on there. Okay, so let me see here what we got. I just got a stand to use my bike inside. Can't wait to try it out. May transition to a real exercise bike at some point. So it's a regular bike, and she got a stand to use it inside. Okay.
I was going to say
So
I do have a game update. The Chiefs kicked a field goal, and then they just picked off the Broncos, so they're
oh
going to be in
boy,
scoring territory again. So
Russell
don't look
Wilson, man.
away.
Boy, Russell Wilson, something's happened to his career after
Oh
he
yeah,
came
he's
to
not the same
Denver, huh?
player. Becky says you sound the same.
Susan's out there. Hey, Susan. Let's see. My son stole my weights when he moved out, so I guess I need to reinvest in a set. That's exactly kind of what happened to me. So my son was here until like mid-July, I think, or something like that. And well, we both were using a lot of weight equipment that we had. So we had a nice bench and a couple of other things that we could use, like one of those pull down things where you can, do those. And he had a heavy bag, for punching, kicking, and stuff. and he took most of that with him. And I still have like one little weight bench and some of the weights, but I just haven't gotten back to using it. So I need to use it. But he did take most of the weights from, that he took with him when he moved out in July. So that's probably part of why I haven't been working out, because it's not as easy as it was before. But it's still on me. I got to start working out. So yeah, and here's you say Becky says I sound like usual to her. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I always sound muffled. Who knows? I've been doing Omara sprints every other day plus squats and push-ups. Yeah, so I want to get to a point that I'm doing sprints actually. That's Dr. Sean O'Mara is really big on the sprinting, and I've heard from other people that, like, just think about it. If you watch the people that run track and do the not the longer distance, but the shorter distances in track, right? Those people are all really built, like strong everywhere in their body. Um, and some of it obviously is that they are lifting weights and so forth, but some of it is just the whole sprinting and what sprinting does. So that's something that I want to get into doing at some point. I just haven't got to it, and now we're going to be getting to when it's going to be colder and winter coming and stuff like that. So maybe next spring I'll start doing some sprinting, but I haven't gotten into it yet. How about you, Greg? Have you thought about it?
No sprint for me. My arthritis is too bad, but we'll see though. I mean, it is getting a little better, but I probably want to try running, but just I'll settle for a nice walk. That'd do wonders for me. So looking forward to doing more of those here. Now that my physical therapy is ending, we're probably going to have to be joining the gym here so I can get a little time in on the either elliptical, bicycle, or doing some laps. So,
All right.
oh, I
So I see
see.
Nicole is here.
I
Oh,
spotted Taylor Swift at the game for all you Swifties out there.
did you see? So I guess when they played the Vikings, that was Sunday, right?
Yeah.
It was funny that like at the beginning of the game, they were showing these younger women in jerseys, like Vikings jerseys and stuff, and they had Swifty on the back and stuff like that. And then they're like, "Oh, by the way, Taylor Swift is not here today. I guess you guys don't get to see her." I thought that was funny, but she's there tonight. Probably because it's that Kansas City home game, I guess.
Hi, Nicole.
So Nicole is here. What's happening? She says. So, hello, Nicole. Um, yes, it is the same son that had issues when he started carnivore. Only went a couple weeks and then he stopped. So yeah, um, I don't know. I've been, I still talk to him on the phone and stuff, and we visited already once out there because he's a few hours away. But he is eating a decent amount of meat, but he's also eating carbs, so more carbs than he should be. So I can't really say he's even doing low carb at this point. But and then Dr. O'Mara is why I am doing intervals, my form of sprinting. Yep,
There you go. Yep.
yep. Now we do have an exercise bike in our garage that I use sometimes, and it's just out there because it's easier than having it in the house and so forth. And I do like to do high intensity interval training on that exercise bike. So one thing I got from Dr. Sean Baker was how he was doing it. Boy, he was doing it crazy. I can't remember for sure how it was, but I think it was like, um, man, I want to say maybe it was like 10 seconds as hard as you can possibly go. And then you rest for like 10 seconds or 15 seconds or something like that. And then you do it again as hard or fast as you can go. And you do that for like whatever it is, like 7, 8 minutes or something. And I've done that a few times. It is a heck of a workout, let me tell you.
I bet. Sounds like it. Yeah, it'll be interesting when I go up to the gym and I start challenging myself because, I've 6 weeks ago, I could hardly move. So, it's just one of those things. Physical therapy changed everything for me, let alone the weight loss. So it'll be interesting as I test my body a little more and see what I can and can't do. That's for sure.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people here talking about sprinting. I'm working
Yeah.
up to sprints too. I'm not fast yet, but working on it. Hey, not everybody can be fast. Trust me. I'm talking about doing sprinting and stuff in the spring, and I'm gonna be like the slowest person out there. It'll be a sprint for me, but I'm gonna look like one of the slowest, probably the slowest man on earth. So
A sprint for
still
me
quick.
is, I was gonna say, a sprint for me is like watching Humpty Dumpty go for a jog.
Oh no, that was so wrong. All right. Carnivore Leo is here. Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm late, she says. So hello, Rhonda. And she also says, I also sprint because of Dr. Omara. So, like I said, a lot of people talking about sprinting and Dr. Omara. Oh, Chrissy says she is not fast yet either. My sprint is someone else's jog for sure, but I'm working on it. Yeah. My sprint looks like Usain Bolt walking. So, okay, I am doing 30-30, so it'd be 30 seconds really hard and then stopping, I'm guessing, or going light for 30 seconds. So I'm pausing every fourth set. Yeah. Yep. I mean, you just go at whatever your sprint is, and eventually you're going to get faster as you build your muscles up and you get in better shape and so forth, and you get used to sprinting. So eventually you'll get going a little bit faster each time you go. Not everybody's going to be as fast as some people, but hey, you're doing the sprinting motion. It's doing its thing. It's working, and you'll see results as you continue to go with it. All right. So, any other questions? Let us know in the chat. Also, if you're just jumping on, say hi and let us know where you're from.
I see that Denver picked off
Is that what
Kansas
just
City.
happened?
Denver got an interception, so it's
Okay.
still just 3-zip.
Yeah, 3-0. All right. Denver's
Two
at their own
two something
7-yard
left
line.
in the first quarter.
Yes, every bit makes a difference. Completely agree there. All right. So let's go back to our topic again. Getting started on a low carb diet. So again, whether it's keto, ketovore, Atkins, carnivore, whatever you want to call it, low carb diet. Um, what would you say um, if there is one thing that is the most important thing? This is gonna be a tough question, but one thing that's the most important thing for somebody getting started to remember when going on low carb, what would you say that is? The most important thing to think about with it?
Boy, there's
Yeah,
so
a
many
really
things.
tough question, isn't
I
it?
gotta look at my notes. um, I think that's a tough one. I think the thing is commit to doing it. That's a big thing. If you're gonna embark on this journey, you need to commit, and I think that's a big part of it. Because if you're only partially committed or you just like the idea of it, you're probably not going to be successful. Um, I think that's the big thing is making the decision to, hey, I'm going to do this journey. I'm going to try, and I'm never going to quit. And find, it's one of those you keep going until you find what works, and then just keep repeating until you get to your goals. So that to me is probably the most important thing is committing to it if that's what you're going to do.
Yeah. All right.
But there's a lot of good ones there. So
Yeah, definitely. That was a really hard question, so sorry to put you on the spot there.
that's okay. I had notes,
Um,
thank goodness.
so Nicole's asking who is playing. Her Eagles play on Sunday. So it's the Kansas City Chiefs against the Denver Broncos. And late first quarter, it's very surprisingly close. It's 3-0 Kansas City. Both teams have thrown interceptions so far in the game, so that's where we're at. All right. So, what we got here? Don't compare yourself to
Yeah.
others, especially a woman comparing yourself to a man. We don't lose the same. Yep, that is definitely
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Um,
You can never
that
compare.
is definitely something that you see out there. It is easier for some reason for a man to lose weight than a woman, and a lot of times you'll hear like if a husband and wife are trying to lose weight, and even if they're very similar in weight, the husband will lose weight quicker than the woman will. And I think some of it might have to do with the cycles and stuff that they have, you know. But just, yeah, whatever it is, it seems to be easier for men to lose weight. So always keep that in mind for any of the females out there watching. Don't get discouraged
Yeah.
because you're watching somebody or you watch these different videos and you see where some of these people have lost over 100 pounds and so forth in a fairly short, amount of time. And you're like, well, I'm not losing very much. Well, it's just the difference in people. And again, don't worry so much about the scale. Think about the measurements because sometimes people just aren't losing a whole lot of weight, but they're actually losing the body fat and they're seeing it in their measurements and so forth. Don't quit. The road might get bumpy. Stay out of on the way of eating. Nicole just watched the Kelsey documentary on Netflix. Great movie. Okay. Yeah, somebody else asked, what is that documentary about? I was wondering too. It's too early for to be a documentary about Kelsey and Taylor Swift, so I have no idea. Oh, she entered already. See, I should pay attention. Jason Kelsey and his family. Oh, the other Kelsey. Jason plays, yes, for the Eagles. He's on the offensive line. And his brother Travis plays for KC. Okay. All right. There we go. All right, so we have one of our guests that is waiting in the lobby, so I'm going to go ahead and bring them in. So let me add him into the stage here. Ron, welcome. How are you doing?
Doing good. How are you doing, Brian? And Greg?
Yeah. How you doing, Ron? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Good. All right. Let me see here. I got something I'm going to put on the screen here. All right. So here we go. This is Ron's channel, Overcoming Carbs. So if you have not checked out his channel, go check it out. He's got a YouTube channel for, was it about 2 to 3 months now, I think we've been doing it?
Yeah, it started in August, so
Okay.
or right at the very end of July. So yeah, 1st of August.
All right. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that channel and also just about your experiences so far with carnivore?
Okay. Channel, like you said, is Overcoming Carbs. The reason why I named it that is because of my realization of my addiction to carbs and sugar. Um, I started out basically doing this way of eating by looking up information for my wife because my wife has been keto since 2012 and has been battling weight issues and everything from that point on because she had her thyroid irradiated and she's also on beta blockers. So she had an overactive thyroid and she had 140 beats a minute when she went to the doctor because of her thyroid hormone that was saturated in her body. It was just racing her heart. And they put it on a beta blocker, and then they tried medication to prevent the thyroid from being overactive, and she had reaction to the medicine. So the other option was is to basically get it out, and so we opted for um, the radiation to have it irradiated. And if I would have known then what I know now, we might not have gone that route. I hate drastic measures when you come to things. And one of the drastic measures with my doctor wondered if I'd ever want to do like gastric bypass or anything like that. And I was not willing to redo my plumbing. And I didn't want to mess with what God created. He made it this way for a reason and I didn't see why I needed to reroute it, so I never would go that option. And started researching things, and I just put into a search one day. I said, "No thyroid, autoimmune because she also has celiac disease. And I said, no thyroid, autoimmune, and can't lose weight. And I even put in there that low carb keto and everything, and just to see what would come up. And the first thing that comes up is um, Dr. Ken Berry interviewing Kelly Hogan. And this was in April. And I think it was right after KetoCon was just wrapping up in April. And then my wife was gone at the time when I saw the video, and I watched a little bit of it. And I said, "Hey," when she came home, I said, "Have you ever heard of Ken Berry or Kelly Hogan?" Because she follows a lot of people. She follows a lot of people on Instagram, and she goes, "Oh yeah, they talk about Ken Berry all the time and Kelly Hogan, and um, yeah, I've heard all about them." And I said, "Well, w- would you watch this video with me and see what you think about this thing they're talking about, this carnivore diet?" And she's like, "Sure, I'll watch it." Well, she's already doing keto and she's got celiac, so she's already cut out a bunch of stuff. And we're sitting there watching it, and we heard what happened with Kelly and everything. I was like, "Well, what do you think? Do you think you ought to try this and see what it might do? Maybe you can lose some weight." And she goes, "Well, I've cut out everything else. Why not just go down to just eating meat?" And she's never been a really big meat eater, just meat. Matter of fact, I call her the chicken lady because everything we usually eat was chicken or turkey or some kind of poultry. Um, but uh, talked about it, and she goes, "Yeah, I'd be willing to do it." And I said, "Well, if you're going to be willing to do it, then I'll do it with you." We had just gone to the doctor a couple weeks before, and I was in kind of in a denial. Um, I really didn't know how much I weighed. I knew I weighed more than 400 pounds, but I didn't know how much. So I thought I was pretty close to 400. But when we went to the doctor on April 11th, I got on the scale and it showed me at 440 pounds when I got on the scale. And I was in shock that I had let myself go that much. And got on the scale and saw that and saw this stuff about losing weight doing the carnivore diet and just basically changing your life. And I was like, you know what? If you're going to do this, I'm going to do it with you. And we started on the road together on April 24th. So on April 24th, I went cold turkey. I jumped right into it. And if you're in keto and you jump into carnivore, it's not that big of a shock to your system, if you know what I mean. But when you're doing, you're going from eating Mexican food and pizza and cheeseburgers and hot dog, all the stuff of the standard American diet, and you go into just eating meat, your body goes into a shock. And I was not expecting it. And by the first week, by that Saturday, my body was in this full on chill. I thought I was, I didn't have a fever, but I was shaking everywhere. And I was like, what's going on? My wife's like, do we need to take you to the doctor or the hospital? Because I'm just there underneath the sheets just shaking. And I'm like, no, I'll be fine. Just give me a day, because I've been battling gout for about 12 to 15 years. And I've had this type of situation whenever I'd get a flare up of the gout, I'd start getting chills and things like that. So I'm like, well, maybe it's just I'm having a flare up of gout because of all the meat I'm eating. But then I couldn't find I wasn't hurting anywhere, and I didn't have any kind of like inflamed area that was in pain. And I'm like, well, this isn't gout, so I don't know what's going on. And I started just looking up different things. I was like, what can be causing chills? When I went to the doctor, she said I was fighting an infection. I was already on an antibiotic. So I'm like, well, maybe it's part of that. Well, then I saw a video with Dr. Chafee, and he was talking about oxalate dumping. So I'm like, oxalate? What the heck's an oxalate? I had no clue what an oxalate was. And so I started looking up oxalates, and I was like, oh, okay, that's when you stop eating all the spinach and all the greens and everything and all these other things. I'm like, okay, what are the symptoms of an oxalate dump? And one of the biggest ones they say is chills. And I'm like, well, maybe I was going through an oxalate dump. I was like, maybe that's what I was going through. But that was like, it went on for about 24 hours and then it was done. and this was on a Saturday, thank goodness. But I went back to the doctor. She wanted me to come back to her because she put me on testosterone replacement therapy, and I was low on that. I was like 169 on my testosterone. My TSH was, I think, around a 5.7 or something, so it was barely high. But she put me on like a 30 milligram thyroid replacement, and I was low vitamin D. I was low B12. I was low on a bunch of different things. And so she put me on, she just told me to start taking vitamin D, and she put me on injectable B12 and injectable testosterone and doing that once a week. So she wanted me to come back every month. So I came back on May the 11th, and I'd lost 20 pounds. So from April 24th to May 11th, I'd lost 20 pounds. And when I got on there, she was like, um, uh, what are you doing? Because there's no way that the testosterone and all this would have made you lose 20 pounds. And I said, well, have you heard of this thing called a carnivore diet? And I discussed it with my wife before I went back. And I said, do you think I ought to tell her about it? Because I've heard all the horror stories about doctors not really agreeing with it. And she said, well, you got to be totally honest with her, because she's got to know what you're doing to know how to treat you if something comes up. And so I said, okay. So I told her about the carnivore diet. And I said, have you ever heard of it? And she said, well, that's what Jordan Peterson does. And I was like, so, okay. So he said, yeah, you keep doing that. You're losing weight. I don't care. You just do what you're doing right now, because it's working. And I was like, okay. So I came back another month, and I lost another, I think, 16 pounds or 19 pounds. And by the third month, when I came back in July, she was like, you're doing fine. I don't need you to come back anymore. We'll see you again in October. So I'm about to go back to her in October, and next Wednesday. Had blood work done Monday, and I'm going to go back to her Wednesday, and I'm going to see how we're doing on that. But as of right now, with this way of eating, I've lost 90 pounds, and my wife has lost 17 pounds. And this is the first time since she's been doing keto, low carb, that she's actually lost weight. And it's like a big battle for her with the beta blockers and everything. So that's what got me into this. And that's why I started the channel, because by doing this diet, I was like, I never, I've done keto, I've done fat free, I've done other things, and I've done Atkins and Weight Watchers and all that. But I never knew what a stopping point was when eating. I never felt like, full. And I always, you have these moments where you're like, you just want more and more or something. And the only way you really stop is because it hurts. And I've finally found out through this, with just eating meat, that I was able to basically know what full was like. I found out that my mind was basically um, wanting sugar, and keto and low carb would just actually mask that, and not allow not allow me to actually fulf- know what it's like not to have it, because you're still getting that sweet sensation, you're still getting carbs, you're still getting everything. And not having those things, I was able to see that I just was eating just because of what I thought my mind or my body needed at the time, this whole dopamine fix. And I found out about dopamine, it's kind of like insulin resistance, that the more you create, or the more you feed that dopamine, the the less receptors you have, and the more it requires you to get that fix. So basically, I was eating myself into this situation where I was 440 pounds. And now I don't have to have that fix when I eat. I can eat something, feel full, and go on. And I've seen it a lot where um, uh, that you've seen it a lot where people talk about, slipping up, falling off the wagon, cheating, things like that. And it is a constant temptation because you've gone 40 plus years eating a certain way, and your body's used to certain things, and your body wants certain things, and you're constantly, the thoughts come into your mind, and you have this little battle going on. But the thing is that after you start this way of eating, you fulfill your needs in other ways. You're eating basically to eat, and not you're basically eating just to live, but you're not living to eat. Whereas before I was living and just wanting something to eat constantly. I just want like something sweet. I want this or that. Now, I saw Nicole out there asked about gout, how my symptoms have been, or if I've had any. I haven't had a single one. As a matter of fact, I have been off the medicine since I started this way of eating. I haven't had to take it. I was on the highest dose of Uloric because alpurinol wasn't even working for my gout. And I noticed that um, I was kind of worried about it. What would happen to me, if I ate all this meat? And I was like, okay, let's look up carnivore diet and gout. And of course, there's like 3 or 4 different doctors that talk about it, and even um, nutritionists and scientists and so forth. I think, um, I can't even think of his name right now. The, uh, He's that guy that he talks about. He does all the science. It's not Bart K, but it's the other. It's the bald-headed guy, I think, from Utah. I can't even think of his name. You know who I'm talking about, though, Brian, because I think you've talked with him. Maybe. Um. Anyway, he's
You're
a
muted, Brian.
is he muted? He just like turned it off.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot I muted myself. Yeah, from Utah. I probably have talked to him, and I just don't remember Utah.
Dr. Bickman. Yeah. Keto
Oh, yeah, okay.
Gregorian. Yeah, Ben Bickman. He's the one. He talked about it too. I had, all these doctors saying that it's not the meat you eat, because your body basically has, you naturally have purines, and you naturally have uric acid. And I love what Dr. Barry said about it. It's like when you eat meat, you're adding as much purines to your body as if you took a canister of salt and poured it into the ocean. So you're not adding any more purines to it's the inflammation caused by the sugar and the fructose and things like that. And I always found it ironic when he said that, because one of the things they tell you if you're having symptoms of gout is to drink tart cherry juice. And it never helped me. And, now I know why it never helped me, because tart cherry juice basically doesn't help gout. Um, but uh, it's interesting that I'm not needing it, and I had those fears, and I've actually gotten off of the gout medicine. I've gotten off of my blood pressure medicine. I have sleep apnea, but whenever I had my sleep study done back in 2009, I was having 980 events an hour on sleep apnea. Well, I have this AirSense that I have right now that basically tells you how many events you have an hour and so forth. And I'm having like zero point 0.2 to zero point 0.4 an hour events. And pretty soon I'm going to be off of my CPAP. And, that's all due to inflammation as well. I still use it, but it's like it only goes till, like, I have the lowest setting on it set to 11. They had me all the way up to a 19 to get rid of my sleep apnea symptoms, and I was still having like 30 events even at 19. And so now it's at 11 with zero point 0.2. The pressure's at 11, so I'm having 0.2 events. I could probably have it go down even lower than that. That's just the minimum I set it to. But I mean, I'm off of all these medications. I'm not even taking anything now. I've stopped the testosterone therapy because I wanted to see what the blood work would come up with. And I had blood work as a baseline that I had back in April. I think somebody was asking, that might have been Meeting Wellness. Um, Meaning Wellness was asking if I had blood work done. I had it done in April. So I've got a baseline because I had to get all that done for, the yearly thing. So I've got a baseline of where I was, and my A1C at that time I went back and looked at it just recently, and it's a 6.2 was what my A1C was. And my fasting insulin, or not fasting insulin, my fasting glucose, when I went in for that blood work, was a 114. So I'm going to use that as what I'm going to go back and compare to. I also looked at my cholesterol and all those things, but after I go back to the doctor, I'll put it on my channel, basically what was found out with the doctor. Feeling better than I have, before I started this. Started, back in April, and man, my wife is like, she noticed all the energy and change in me right now. And used to, when I would go to the grocery store, I'd walk around for about 10 or 15 minutes. My lower back would start hurting. And now I can stand up for hours and walk through a store for hours and not have my back even bother me now. So carnivore is an amazing thing at what it does and how it changes your whole system. So that's me, and not so much of a nutshell. And so I don't know if I missed any other questions that were out there. Did you see any, Brian?
Yeah, no, I think you got them. I'm gonna bring up another comment here, and then I'm gonna bring another guest in, so we'll have four of us on the show. But let me bring up this comment first. I've heard this before, where people with gout get over it with carnivore. I learned that meat equals gout, so it's confusing and wonderful. Yeah, so along with your experiences, I can tell you, Semi-Retired Bob, I just recently
Right,
interviewed him. He
right,
had gout. He was diagnosed like back in 1983 or something like that.
right,
And for years, he always said, "Well, I can't. They told me I can't eat meat because of the gout."
right.
And he's now what, like, I think he's 17 months right now, or just over 17 months on carnivore. So basically a year and a half of doing carnivore, and he does not have any gout issues at all. So that's all just some kind of nonsense that was created, I guess, that
Well,
meat causes gout.
I think what it is that back, in the early, Renaissance area, it was considered a rich man's disease because the people that were tending to get it were eating lots of meat, and because they were usually living high on the hog, in other words. Um, but it was considered that because these people that were overweight and eating a lot of indulging on a lot of things other than meat, they were eating other things as well, but they attributed it because they were getting it and other people weren't. And it's because, well, it had to be because they're eating meat. And it's this whole purine thing. And what has the most purines? Well, red meat and pork and things like that. That it has all the purines in it, and that's what you're doing. And so there's even my doctor, whenever I was diagnosed with gout, they said, "Well, you got to avoid this and you got to do that." I'm like, I'm not avoiding that. I like those things. I'll just take the medicine. But it's like, so it's like, I took the medicine, to subside, to take away my symptoms and so forth. And it's just really, it's a lot to do with genetics and things like that. But your kidneys are not filtering out the uric acid properly. And the reason why the kidneys aren't getting rid of the uric acid or filtering it out is because they're working on trying to get rid of everything else you've got in your body. So something's got to give. So people like me, it was those uric acid crystals that would accumulate in joints because the liver or the kidney couldn't get it out. So I was doing other things to my body to create this situation, and it wasn't because I was eating too much meat or the wrong kind of meat or anything like that. And once I got rid of the other things that were creating the problem, it kind of goes along with cholesterol too. All the sugar and everything that you put in your body that creates those dense cholesterol. And it's not the cholesterol that's the problem. The cholesterol's main thing was to repair. And the problem is that when you add all the other things to it, they go in there to repair, but they would thicken and attach, and then they would accumulate, and that's what would create all the problems with cholesterol. And it wasn't the fact that cholesterol was a problem; it was the fact of what you did to the cholesterol that was a problem. Well, it's the same thing with gout. It's what you're doing to your body that is creating the issue. It's all the other stuff that you're putting in there that your kidneys are having to basically deal with. And since they got to choose something, some people, it works fine and they'll get rid of it. Other people like me, it just accumulates. So um, you hear it's about meat, but it's really not about meat. Um, Ground beef guy is dealing with it now. He's dealing with gout.
Yeah.
Um, he
Yeah, I talked to him not too long ago, and he's had a couple of flare-ups, but he did say that it hasn't been as bad as it was before. I know he's been doing carnivore for a couple months though, so I don't know if it's just taking him a while because some people just take longer to get adjusted. So I don't know if it's something like that or if there's something else going on. I know that he's doing a lot of bulking too though, and I don't know if maybe that could be contributing to it
could be some
as well.
soreness involved in there with
Yeah.
the. That's one thing I haven't done. I haven't, y'all were talking about working out and things like that. Um, I was 440 pounds. Plus, it was 112, 113 degrees here in Texas. And I wasn't about to go out and start walking and doing all that type of stuff, being 440 pounds and being out that heat. Um, you got to, weigh what you're doing here. And I'm going to let my body heal before I start doing things like that. With it getting cooler, I'm probably going to start walking and doing things like that with my wife. But one thing I was thinking about was, my thing that I had happened was the whole oxalate dumping, and I thought it was gout, but I didn't have any of the like. I mean, when you have gout flare up, if you've ever had it, and you know when it's gout. I mean, because you can touch that area and it is hot and it is sore to even touch it. It would accumulate in my knees, is where it wouldn't go down to my feet. But when you go out and if you can't touch an area, then yeah, it's gout, and it's that whole the crystals that are in there, and it's just inflamed all the tendons and all the cartilage that's in that area. And when you go to touch it, it hurts, and it's like somebody like sticking a ice pick through your joint. And if he's having that, then it's gout. But if he's not having that, if he's just sore and he's also having like symptoms of, like I was saying about the chills and things like that, then he could be just oxalate dumping. And that's another thing that I found was interesting. Lily Kane did an interview with a doctor or somebody or a nutritionist that said basically they asked the question on oxalate dumping, how soon do you get rid of the oxalates? And he said you can have getting rid of oxalates for years, depending on how long you've been eating them, because they are stored up in your fat cells and so forth, and they'll be releasing on and on. So he could be possibly having some oxalate dumping and getting rid of oxalates in his body.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Real quick before I bring in the next guest, do you got an update for us, Greg? I think I saw a touchdown. Did you see it?
I'm muted now. Yeah, Kansas City scored a touchdown. They're leading 10-0, and I think there's like 3 minutes left in the second quarter.
So
All right.
half. Okay.
Good. All right. So I'm going to bring in our next guest. This is Christy from Meeting Wellness. Hello, Christy.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice to see you, Christy.
Hey, Ron.
Right. So let's see. I've got Christy's channel here. So it is at Meeting Wellness. So Christy, why don't you tell us a little bit about your channel and your start into, I believe you're actually low carb, right? Or are you doing carnivore?
That's my friend Erin at Low Carbist. She was on last week. I'm actually
So you are doing carnivore. Okay, you are doing carnivore. Okay, I wasn't sure if you were doing just low carb or carnivore. Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't start carnivore, and I think it's fascinating that Ron and I are sitting here next to each other because we sort of we're like at the opposite end of the spectrum, which I think is so freaking cool as far as like our stories and the type of carnivore story we have. So with me, I started way back. I'm 47 years old now, and way back in my teenage years, I started on that yo-yo diet roller coaster. And I never put on more than like 20 extra pounds, except for during my pregnancies. But that was because I was like obsessed with counting calories, you know, and I would just basically starve until I just couldn't starve anymore. And, you know, I'd lose the 20 pounds, but then I just couldn't do it anymore. And I'd binge on all the unhealthy stuff, put the 20 pounds back on, and then take it back off. And I know now that I was just getting, every time I would do that cycle, I was just getting more and more unhealthy. You know, fast forward up until February of this year, and it was the same 20 pounds again. And I thought, all right, I'm going to do keto, because I had done pretty much all the other things, you know, the Slim Fast, even Atkins, although not correctly done, right? Not getting rid of seed oils, still doing processed foods and things. But it was still kept me on the yo-yo. Like I never solved the problem, right? And I had all this like food obsessions and constantly counting calories. There was a calorie counter just spinning in my head, calculating and recalculating and recalculating what I'd eaten that day. And then if I had, you know, 1,000 calories on one day, then the next day I better be 950 because, you know, don't want to get fat. Right. And so, yeah, that was terrible. But in February of this year, I thought I'm going to go keto, not really researching. Oh, there's my cat. I don't know if you saw that. My carnivore cat we'll talk about in a minute. Her name's Pixel. She's great. Anyway, she just jumped up. Yeah, so I thought I'm going to go keto, but I didn't really do any research, you know, into keto. I just thought, well, you know, bacon good, you know, bread bad. Let's do this. Until I decided that I should probably maybe join a Facebook group or two and learn something about it, which I did very, very quickly in about a weekend. And of course, someone in there mentioned Dr. Berry. And so, yeah, I just went and watched all the Dr. Berry for like 3 months straight. My husband was ready to strangle me. And if I have to hear that accent one more day, and I put my earbuds in and just kept listening to Dr. Berry. But so it didn't take long for me to really do keto, you know, correctly, right? Like the heavy meat-based, counting total carbs, not net carbs, because I did the net carb game for a while when I didn't know any better. Getting rid of all the processed things, the seed oils and all of that. And yes, I did lose the 20 pounds doing that. I didn't do too much exercise. It came off without too much of a fuss. And then, you know, I like to say kind of the opposite of my new friend Ron here, where he made the conscious decision to like, because my wife is doing this and I'm going to do it with you kind of thing. Like I was just like, I don't really think I like broccoli. Let me just eat some more ribeye. Until soon I'm thinking I'm kind of carnivore now, right? And then after a few weeks of that, this is where the decision to like make my channel happen, because I didn't go in even knowing that this type of way of eating could help with anything other than weight loss. Like it was just about that 20 pounds when I went in. After a few weeks of carnivore, I started to notice like all these other physical things that I didn't know were because of my diet started like disappearing from my life. So my right hand, I'm a teacher and, you know, we write a lot and we're on the computer a lot. And my right hand at the end of the day would ache with maybe pre-arthritis or maybe arthritis. I don't know, sore joints. I was never diagnosed, but yeah, that doesn't happen anymore. My right knee would swell and I could walk around, but I couldn't exercise. Like you saw me commenting that I was sprinting. Like there's no way I'd be sprinting. There's no way I'd be doing squats because my knee would have been whining the whole time. Like it wouldn't have done it. Yeah, it doesn't do that anymore. I have no trouble busting out, you know, eight 20-second sprints and 100 squats a day. My knee doesn't complain. I used to get cystic acne here, and I haven't had that since I went carnivore in June. So my feet and ankles started swelling up a few years ago, kind of like when I was pregnant, except not being pregnant, like that swelling in the feet and ankles to the extent that I had to buy bigger shoes. And now, so my normal size was an 8.5 and I was buying 9s and 9.5s. And now all my 8.5s I can put back on my feet. So yeah, that's not happening anymore. So physical things like that. Yeah, all that stuff went away, but that's not even really the best part. I started to realize that I actually had this pretty severe case of social anxiety that I just chalked up to, oh, I'm just an introvert. Like, I don't want to talk to people or go to parties or do anything except sit on my couch because I'm just an introvert. Well, look at me now. Do I seem like an introvert? Like, I'm here. I never met you guys before today. I'm fine. Like, I'm not embarrassed to be here. I'm not worried that Ron is thinking about, like, why is this weird person? What is she doing? Like, I used to obsess about that, right? Like, what are they thinking? Am I doing something weird? Is there something on my face? Do I look fat today? Like, why am I even at this party trying to talk to people? I'm probably just socially awkward. I certainly would not have done Omara sprints up and down my cul-de-sac, like waving at my neighbors as I was doing them. I don't care about that. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, they probably think it's weird. And I know I'm not an athlete. I'm not an Olympian. I'm not Usain Bolt, like you said. You know, I'm a middle-aged lady running up and down the street. And that's fine with me. So, you know, and then this mental clarity that I have, I used to have brain fog, like nobody's business. And I'm a teacher. I'm supposed to be the smart one in the room, you know, and I could barely think my way out of a paper bag. So, yeah, it was not good. Here she is. It was not good. She was my co-star during distance learning too. When us teachers had to teach online, she would make an appearance every time. Anyway, my sleep, I would go to sleep, like I'd be exhausted and I'd go to sleep hard before carnivore, but then I'd wake up after a couple hours and then just be like, I would feel like I would remember the whole night. So I would just be super fitfully sleeping. And then in the morning, just be like, I remember the whole night. Like, that's not supposed to be like that. And then I'd just be exhausted and I'd always be wanting a nap. I don't feel like that anymore. So I sleep maybe 6 hours, maybe 7 at the most, usually 6. And then I'm like ready to go. So I wake up ready to tackle the day. I don't get an afternoon slump anymore. I mean, I could go on and on, but I feel like I started my channel because I don't have the picture that says, wow, she lost 100 pounds. Like, I don't have that before and after picture. I lost 2 sizes and 20 pounds, which is amazing, right? But that's not the biggest thing by far for me. And I want people to know that, like, if you have any kind of like physical inflammation symptoms, mental, you know, anxiety, or any of those other symptoms I mentioned, like, this diet can help you. And I didn't know it could help me until it did. And then I went, wow, I need to talk about this. So that's my channel and why I made it. And my story, like Ron said, not really in a nutshell.
All right. That is great. So before, there's I think 1 or 2 comments I wanted to bring up, but before I go into that, I want to ask both of you, so Christy and then Ron. I'll start with Christy since you've been talking. Okay. So our topic today is getting started on a low carb diet. So what would you tell people watching based on your experiences with getting started? What would you tell them if somebody's just getting started?
Yeah. So I would say, like, learn about inflammation first. I didn't know what inflammation was until Dr. Berry, and I was already deep into it. And then I didn't turn my carb knob down enough to even get those symptoms under control. So I would say learn what inflammation is and take stock of your symptoms. Like, do you have joint pain? Do you have like anxiety? Do you have these kind of things? And then take detailed measurements, because I didn't do that. I took measurements before, at the beginning of September, before I started sprinting and after, and I did a video on that. And I lost like 2 inches just in that month, just from sprinting alone. And that was after I was what I consider to be at my goal weight. So I wish I would have taken those measurements all along, and take detailed measurements, like take all the measurements. I don't have those. I took, like, you know, chest, waist, hips, you know, thighs. That's pretty much what I took. I wish I would have taken arms, and stuff like that. And I just didn't do detailed ones either. And then when you're getting started, you know, I think you would talk about earlier, realize it's going to take some commitment. So like, now it's easy for me. I don't obsess about food. I don't count anything. I eat when I'm hungry. I eat till I'm full, and that's it. I don't think about food again till I'm hungry again. But in the beginning, it wasn't like that for me. There's people in my life that have asked me about it, and like, they don't even know how to count carb. Like, they don't know what a carb is. Like, they're asking me, well, how many beans can I eat? And I'm like, yeah, none of the beans, because I have to explain to them. Seriously, I know, right? Like, funny, but then it's like, they really don't know. So you may have to track you may have to track carbs. Like if you have not been ever tracking things in your diet before, like how the heck do you know how many carbs 20 is, you know? And yeah, I made a comment like, oof, Ron jumped right in. Like I would not maybe jump right in, although good for you for doing that. And if that's your personality and that's the way you do things, then hey, more power to you. He's like, no, don't do it. See, he did it. And he's like, don't do it. I didn't do it. And I had 3 weeks of adaptation symptoms to carnivore. And I was keto from February to June. When I went full carnivore, I did have like 3 weeks of trying to get the bathroom issues, dialed in, just the level of fat that I would need. So just be prepared for that. Be prepared for, any keto flu, like make sure you have your fats, make sure you have your electrolytes, have a plan for cravings, please. And then eventually you'll get fat adapted. Your body will start talking to you. And then that's where it's just, at least for me, that's where it just was like all good after that. Yeah. So that's my advice.
All right. So Ron, same question about getting started with your experiences. What would you like to tell people that are just getting started?
Well, first, I just want to make one observation is that Christy's energy level, if it was less than it is now from before starting this way of eating, I'm like, okay, because man, you got some energy going.
I have energy. I have all the energy. I taught all day. Well, we had a staff in service all day. It was like boring. Then I had my doctor's appointment, which is a whole nother story. Then I made my ribeye and came on here. And yeah, I've been up since 4 this morning and it's 6:30 now. So, and I'm good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But as far as like what I'd tell somebody that's doing low carb or this way of eating, don't waste time is what I would say. In other words, get it, if you're even thinking about it, get it started, do it slowly. If you're coming from a standard American diet and you haven't had any kind of keto or low carb or anything like that, and you're just doing a regular diet, increase your meat intake and decrease your carb intake slowly. Do it in moderation as far as how much you change. Don't just go all meat because you are going to flip your system out. If you're coming from keto or low carb and going into carnivore, you're not going to have as big of a transition. But if you're going to do this, then don't concern yourself with, don't make your priority be, well, I have to eat this, I have to eat that, I have to do this, I have to do this, and I have to count this or that. Your main objective is your health. And your main objective is to get everything right inside of you. It's also to get what's up in your head right as well. You will, like she said, the brain fog goes away. I had brain fog. I didn't even realize I had brain fog until I started doing this. I just thought, I'm forgetting little things here and there, or, things just don't come as easy as they used to. But once you get on this, all of a sudden you start, things just become clearer and it's amazing. But don't think of this either as a diet. You are creating a new habit. You've been training yourself for all these years to eat what you thought was the right way to eat. Now you are going to basically retrain yourself to eat the way you're supposed to eat and the way we're designed to eat. We're not designed to process all of these highly processed foods and all these complex carbs, and we're just not designed that way. And I would say not research, but review people's testimonials, what people have gone through. Actually watch not just the doctors. The doctors, they're great. They have all the information and everything. But if you really want to know about this way of eating, watch the videos of like Brian and what he's gone through, Greg, what he's gone through, Christy. The different perspectives all out there for different ways. Mine is basically a carb addiction method. That's what brought me into this. Christy's wasn't a carb addiction method, reason why she did it. Brian did it because of AFib. He got into this because he wanted to correct some things and plus lose some weight. But, his main thing was his heart. And I got into this because not knowing I had a carb addiction, but finding out I did. And I did this to support my wife. And my wife did it because nothing else was working. And that's why she did it. But find your why. Why are you watching this right now? Why are you watching videos that are out there? You had to have some reason to do it. It wasn't just by chance that you ended up here. It wasn't by chance that I ended up watching Dr. Barry interview Kelly Hogan. There's a reason why you're here right now. There's a reason why you're watching this later on. There's a reason why. And take that why and put it into practice. Go and, and put yourself into it. Don't hesitate. Just do it and do it now. That's what I would say.
All right. Very good thoughts from both of you on getting started. So I have one more question I'm going to ask you two before we bring in the next guest, and then we have another guest that's coming in as well. But I'm going to do another question here really quick because I'm behind on this question. So are there any specific resources or books that you found particularly helpful in your journey with this diet? Greg, we're going to start with you on this one.
No, I don't know how to read. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I can help you with that.
No, I think a lot of it, I just seen videos, watch videos on YouTube. It's just one of those things that other people's stories inspire me, I guess you could say. And I continually look at those throughout my own journey. I'm just hoping to become an inspiration for other people. So, but that's the plan, that's what I find helps me the most, though, is just seeing other people be successful, for sure.
All right. How about Ron? How about you?
I'm not a big reader. Never have been. Even when I was in school, I didn't really like reading that much, so I can't really recommend any books. The main thing I did is I didn't want to take one person's view on this way of eating. I didn't want to just say, well, Dr. Barry's the way to go, and that's all I'm going to go by, and whatever he says is, the scripture or whatever. I wanted to get a lot of people's viewpoint and why they do it and what's helped them and so forth. So I would say review multiple sources. Don't rely on one person, because you are not going to have the same results as one person. I am not Shaun White. I'm not going to lose 243 pounds in 1 year. I mean, I've lost 90 pounds, but I'm not going to lose. I don't expect to lose 243 pounds. If I do, hey, great. That's awesome. But I'm not him. He is somebody totally different. I'm not, don't expect to lose 90 pounds in 5 months either. There's no way Christy could have lost 90 pounds. She would be nothing right now if she lost 90 pounds. So, not everybody's going to be the same, and we're all different. We're all, we all have, same organs and everything inside of us the same, but we don't all respond the same, and we don't all have the same needs, and we don't all have the same wants. So find the ones that match what you want to gain out of this way of eating. That's what I would say.
All right. And then Christy, what about you?
Yeah. So I started off because of that one person, mentioning Dr. Barry. And yes, I did watch him for a few months. And then I sort of went on. And then that's when I sort of found this community that we're in right now. The people starting up smaller channels. And that is kind of my favorite thing. It's kind of like what Ron said, because everybody has their own story. So although I do like being on live and talking like this, I also enjoy being in the chat and chatting with the other meat-based eaters out there. That has been amazing. And then I interviewed Greg, the RV carnivore. And if you haven't had him on yet, you need to. He's awesome. And he actually mentioned Dr. Boz's book, Any Way You Can. And, of course, I'd heard her talk about it and all of that. But he said, go buy that book. And so I went on. I was actually going to buy it. But I am a reader, unlike some of you. And I do have Kindle Unlimited. And that book is free. If you're like Kindle Unlimited, you can just get that book for free. So that's the first actual book I'm not done with it yet, but yeah, it's great so far. And that'll make me cry, but that's the only book that I've, started on, about this, but it's a good one. So that was a good recommendation from Greg.
Good. And I'm just creating more bloopers in the background. Knocking my microphone over again. Sorry about that.
All good.
All right. So, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our next guest. There are some good comments that I want to bring up here at some point, but I want to bring in our next guest because we're running a little bit behind. So here we go. This is Carnivore Scott.
Carnivore Scott.
Scott, how are you?
How you doing, Scott?
Hey, how we all doing? Everybody good?
Doing
Good. All right.
It is good.
So here we go. I got on the scrolling here for his channel. It's at Carnivore Scott. So make sure you check out his channel. So Scott, why don't you tell us a little bit about your channel and then tell us just about your experiences so far with the carnivore diet.
Okay, so a little bit about the channel. I've been up for about 86 days, 87 days. I don't really keep a lot of the numbers in my mind, but less than 90 days. And my channel is like a lot of people's channels, floundering about, looking for an identity, something to present maybe a little different in the space. When you come up against, and I heard people talking, when you come up against intentional carnivore, Shaun White, you come up against the Dr. Berries, the dawn of what we do here, I don't know if you should kiss his ring if he talks to you or something like that. But, when you come up against a giant, so you're looking for a space. Well, my channel tends to be one where I do a lot of lives. I thought that there's very few places where people can go and practice their craft. People who've never been able to come on for one reason or another. Public speaking is a big fear for a lot of people. And the technology can be overwhelming for people. Maybe they don't have a setup or anything like that. So I decided just to do the after party, late night gathering at Scotty's. And I come up on Monday through Thursday, generally speaking, 8:30, 9 o'clock Central Time. Stay on for about 2 hours now. I've gone as long as 4 hours, but about 2 hours. And it's free form, ad hoc. Everybody's welcome. And what I do is I post the link into the comments. And people show up and we discuss the topics that are near and dear to our hearts. And it isn't always about food.
All right. And then how about your diet so far on the carnivore diet? Tell us a little bit about how you got to it and how that's been going.
Okay, so for about 3-4 years, I've been, experimenting and doing, brought here to this space by an abundance of curiosity, first of all. Hello, Tam. An abundance of curiosity, followed up with some medical challenges with a fatty liver. And I know looking around, you find, like what some people have already said, you see Dr. Berry, you see Sean Baker, you see the different people out there. I actually started more in the low carb arena with Dr. Stephen Finney, Dom D'Agostino, the low carb down under and the low carb community. I love the science of it all. And then I just started dabbling in it. I had some success in it, but I never was committed to it. I hadn't gone all in for an extended period of time. I'm a real good 2-week initiation type person, but after 2 weeks, something bright and shiny went by, and there goes my attention, right? But I had to find my why, as all of you all know how that's so important. And my why, as we talked on Greg's and I've talked before, was my belt buckle. It wasn't my beautiful wife of 32 years. I'm ashamed to say it wasn't my 7 grandchildren. It was the fact that my belt buckle hurt. And so I said to myself, self, what are you going to do? So I said, I'm going to give myself 90 days with a 30-day on ramps, off ramps. I think it's really important that when we engage in something that we have points that we can do an assessment, and we can sit and say, how is this working for me? How is it not working for me? What do I need to do to address? Because sure, sometimes if you stick with something, I think you can achieve great success, but you can also hurt yourself. And I think if you know yourself, none of us are spring chickens. There's only a few that are really young people. So we should know some of our frailties, some of the things we're susceptible to, and predicated on that, we can say, hey, let's go ahead and build in some warning signs. Like YouTube, if you get so caught up in YouTube that you're neglecting your children, your wife, you can get just as addicted to this social aspect as you can to anything else. So it's important to put up some signposts. So that's what I do. And I've been doing the keto thing now for a little less than, the carnivore for less than 90 days, down about 30 pounds, lots of inflammation gone. I'm really big on non-scale victories. And I would say that I have a lot more confidence in how and where I move my body in the space that I exist in. Key point be ladders. I don't know if many of you go up and down many ladders. I try to avoid them. Most of them aren't rated for my weight. But I found myself being very timid and only going one rung at a time. And now I'm going down every other one. I don't worry about it. I'm carrying things like sheets of 4x8 plywood up and down, all the things you need to do. And I'm less concerned. And then when I'm on the roof, I've just been working on this eternal project of a fireplace. And, I have a pretty good pitch to the roof. And that plays havoc on your ankles when you're old. And very scared of being on a roof. But you know what? I got up, I did it, no worries. So that's my shebang.
All right. So I want to get to a couple of comments that I've seen here in the chat. So Susan was talking about going on a flight. So she's going from South Carolina to Utah around 5:30 a.m., South Carolina to Atlanta, to Utah. So it's South Carolina to Atlanta to Utah with over 4 hours of layovers, almost 12 hours together of travel time. And then pray I can fast and stay carnivore on the 3 flights, Columbia to Atlanta to Salt Lake City to St. George. Wow. I don't want to go ketovore, but I might have to. I'd rather fast than get inflammation. And I noticed there's been some, posts in here about trying a few different things. And it sounds like her flight, she's got to leave for her flight like tonight, like 1 a.m. or something like that. So one of the things I just thought of really quick was try and have a nice, really good meal before you leave, so that you're nice and comfortably full, comfortably stuffed, as Dr. Berry would say. And hopefully that'll help you to be able to fast that 12 hours or whatever it ends up being. But I did see that she was planning on bringing some pork rinds or something with her. So maybe that'll help if, halfway through or something, she can do that. So yeah, hopefully that'll work out for you, Susan. But Greg, you got any thoughts as well for her for these flights?
Yeah, I think I like what you said. Go ahead and eat a nice meal before you leave. I suggested maybe make some steak bites. Just cook them really done, and then take them with in your purse, and you can maybe eat some along the way. Pork rinds is a good idea.
Ron, do you have any other thoughts for her on the flight?
Well, I know at DFW they have places like Burger King and McDonald's and stuff on these layovers. Did they take those out? Because I haven't been in a while. But if they're still in the airports, you can get yourself some a la carte items there as well with the beef patties and things.
Yeah,
I was going to say some beef jerky, as long as there's no sugar in it too, would probably be another option.
Yeah. Christy, what do you think?
I'm camp eat a big meal before you go. And then there's always, like what Ron said, if you just have to, and there's, I'm sure you can find some fast food hamburger patties, but I I would just be prepared by eating a big fatty steak.
All right, Scott, you got any other suggestions for her?
Well, I think all that is awesome preparatory, but I also know that make sure that if you have a water bottle with you and have some type of electrolyte, because when you're on the flight and in betwixt, if you can get those stretch receptors in your stomach to be satisfied, satiated, you could do that with getting a good amount of water in, which will also help with a lot of things. Also, I'd highly recommend you have some opportunities to move around the airport to get the lymphatic system moving. Being sedentary for too long it isn't great because you have a lot of nutrients. Most people, as you probably all know, and I won't get too techie here, but all the fat you eat is brought up by the villi, the lacteals in each of your villi. So the lacteals go straight into the lymphatic system. So all the fat you eat, which is the energy, right, travel through your lymphatic system very first. It has to be pumped all the way up into a cistern up high here, dumps into the portal vein, and then your liver takes care of everything. If you're no moving, your food isn't moving. So then if you're making demands for energy, right, because you got a little cortisol, you're a little stressed because you're doing these different things, I highly recommend that then you get some movement in, make sure you drink plenty of water, and make sure your prayer life is good. You throw Christ up in front of you, and you'll be just fine in everything you do. I just looked at the weather. The only weather I did weather for 20 years in the Air Force, so the only weather I would be at all thinking about, it could be a little bit of turbulence over the Rockies, but other than that, it should be pretty good, pretty smooth sailing. That's all I got.
All right, good advice from everybody. Salty Texas Rangers, your update, down 6 pounds since last week, making a total of 76 pounds since May 5th. So congratulations. All right. And we were talking about the McDonald's or Burger King at the airport, and they said 4 or 6 McDonald's 4-to-1 patties hit the spot for me. What is 4-to-1? I'm confused on that. 4-to-1? Is that quarter pound? Maybe?
Quarter pound.
Quarter pound patties. Okay, yeah. Okay. Yep. Definitely. Yep, that's good. All right. Let's see, am I caught up? Okay, so Susan says I'll have to buy something in the airports if I get hungry because that was the last of my meat at the house. Okay. All right. Okay, so Scott, we haven't asked you yet. So our topic tonight is getting started on a low carb diet. So for you on carnivore, knowing the experiences that you've had with starting on the diet, what would you tell our audience about getting started?
Well, I think everybody else has pretty much covered it. But, if you're going to get started, I'm a big proponent of logging your food. I mean, you maybe should start already. Do your best that you can now, because understanding the slope of change is real important. So some people are fairly regular in what they eat, and other people are not. So what is the challenge you're looking at, right? So if you're used to eating a bunch of foods that are off the program, then your effort is going to be bigger. If you're already pretty close there, then you don't have to worry. Maybe what you do is you start to look at the quality of the things you're going to eat. But I really believe that in starting anything that's going to change your energy input sources, have a good idea of where you stand right now. Have some things that you've agreed upon. If you, I'll tell people, like, I still like to drink coffee. I have my coffee right here. I'll drink coffee all day long, and I'll put saccharin in my coffee. That's me. And here's the deal. If I can quit the donuts and all the other stuff I was eating, and the boxes of Pop-Tarts, and the boxes of what do they call those, Chips Ahoy with a little candy blast, right? But I'm staying on the saccharin. I'm taking the sacrifice, right? Make sure you understand, because I think a lot of people set themselves up for a lot of unnecessary anxiety and discomfort because they make this all or nothing so hard into it. And, it's a lot of things. Think about it. You're remapping the fundamentals of your entire life when you change your diet. And if you add exercise like Christy and sprinting, or you're doing whatever you're doing, so your body's going through a lot of stress, and then your mental aspect. So I really think military training, understand the battleground, know where your pieces are, give yourself some understanding, and and give yourself some grace. That's I think the number one thing. We're not in this thing to win it for 72 days. This is a whole life type of thing. And maybe when you get really healthy, whatever healthy is for you, you can reincorporate and do some things. But until you get healthy, the idea is I'm on this journey. I've got my rucksack full of everything I need. I've got my tools. I've got my friends. I've got my community, and I'm moving forward. But you're not in it alone. Give yourself some grace. Understand where you're going and what you have.
Yeah, I agree with that, Scotty. I go through my ABCs of carnivore. I think I haven't done S yet, but my letter G was grace. So you reminded me of that. Yeah.
Great. So, Greg, I think we're in the second half. Do you have an update for us on the game?
Yeah, it just started the third quarter. It's 13-0. Kansas City's beating Denver, and the Chiefs have the ball. So,
okay. So we have a question here. I'm going to go to from Low Carb Carnivore. I had the thought of going back to keto, for I heard that adding fiber in your diet can help control blood sugar and insulin. I know I don't need to, but would that boost the process? And then they said, I feel best on carnivore, but want to get my ketones going. So far, I have not been in ketosis. I have not cheated. Mm-hmm. So, Christy, let's start with you on this one. Do you have any thoughts about this one?
Well, I just wonder what measure you were using to decide if you were in ketosis or not in ketosis. How long have you been doing this way of eating, and what results have you gotten so far? How are you feeling? I know way back in the beginning, I checked, on the pee sticks, and I haven't done that in forever. Honestly, I'm carnivore, so I'm pretty sure I'm in ketosis. I know I'm fat adapted, but I don't know because I feel great, right? So I don't really have a reason to check that. So yeah, I would just wonder about those things. How are you measuring that? How are you measuring your progress? What are you feeling like? Why do you think adding the veg and stuff back in would help you? I just think that if I did that, I wonder how my body would react now after not having that in since June, the vegetables. And how did you, when you ate them before, how did they make you feel? So that's what I would say.
Yeah. All right, Ron, what do you think?
Well, my whole thing is that going along with what Christy said is, where are you at right now? How do you know what your insulin is? I don't. Fiber to me is just, you're just eating something to eat something at that point, because it really doesn't do anything for you. It's no benefit. There's no nutritional benefit. There's nothing like that. So if you're worried about your insulin levels, your insulin levels are going to be reactionary to what you eat. And it takes time for them to go down. And like, I was 114 fasting glucose whenever I started this back in April. And I had a continuous glucose monitor because I was 6.2, and it was constantly at 110, 105. And it took about 2 months of me eating this way for it to actually drop below 100. And it's not something that just happens overnight. So we get, like what Chris is, how long have you been doing it? How long have you been in this process of checking it? I see you do 2 to 3 times you're eating a day. What is your goal in this? I mean, are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to restore your health? Are you trying to get rid of inflammation? Why did you choose this way? There's a lot of questions we could ask here that we don't have the information on. So that's what I would go with.
All right, Greg, you got any other thoughts?
I actually know Chuck a little bit. I interviewed him on my channel, and I know he's trying to lose some weight. And he's got a significant amount to lose. I asked him on here if he's doing OMAD. It looks like he's doing 3 meals a day. If you feel you're stuck, Chuck, I would probably. I mean, I don't know if you've done any kind of cheat meals or if you've cheated to maybe ketovore or keto. You might want to try that for a couple of meals and see what happens and how your body responds to it. Because I'm kind of surprised you're doing 2 to 3 meals with carnivore. I mean, I could see 2. Maybe doing OMAD, but that'd be the other thing, is to try to do once a day and make sure you get it all in one meal and see what that does for you. That's something I would look at as well. Maybe even before you try to go back to keto.
All right. Scott, what do you think?
Well, we have a multivariate question here, to be honest with you. We're talking about controlling blood sugar, insulin, adding fiber, and talking about ketones. So if we kind of set them up and knock them down one at a time, I think that might be a benefit. So if you want to control the blood sugar and insulin, what everybody said is great. First, where you been, where you're going to, what's the direction of travel. It takes a while. If you're going with your A1C, that's a 3-month average based on a protein that's associated with it. So it's not a 1-for-1 direct correlation. It's just another good metric of sorts, kind of like the scale. So that's one thing. So if blood sugar is an issue, and then insulin as a downstream from that, well, okay, there's a lot of things you do. I think the one thing is, what are your triglycerides doing? Because if your triglycerides are elevated, that's telling you have an abundance of energy in your system. So maybe OMAD would be a great way of doing it, making sure you're looking at what the constituent parts of your diet are. So you can get that caloric thing, even though we don't have a calorie meter in our body and all that, but you get the caloric thing under control. The thing about insulin that helps with blood sugar is, remember that not the insulin, but the fiber, is that the fiber is what some of your gut biome feeds off of. All right. So if you're giving fiber perhaps to your gut biome, maybe your body's not trying to find a way to make it and provide to that biome. Remember, your biome what's in your biome comes to an environment that is available. It's not the other way around. They come to you because you've made an environment that is beneficial to them. When you go, because they do the studies, and I don't mean to be gross, but when they do a colonization study and they look for the numbers and types, a carnivore has a very good gut biome. It's just different, right? So if all of a sudden you start adding things into your gut biome that you haven't had for a while, well, don't be concerned too much about flatulence and gas and all that, because now you're adding back to you're making it a fertile environment for the biome you just got rid of. So make sure that when you read something, you understand the global condition of why they said adding fiber, because they'll tell you that water soluble fiber, even on the container, right? Great for blood glucose, right? And I think that might be somewhat of a marketing thing. I don't know how far in the footnotes you have to go. I think what everybody else said, watch how many times you're eating, what you're eating first. Next thing to know, maybe it's time to do a food journal to find out what are you eating that's driving your blood sugar up. The only thing I could think of, if you're not eating anything that's driving your blood sugar, you have a need by your liver for, what do they call that, gluconeogenesis, and something's driving your body to want to make the sugar. So there's a lot of variability here, and it's a very complex question. And I think watch what you eat, how much you eat, and I wouldn't get caught up in adding the fiber if you've been in a low carb keto-verse thing for more than 60 to 90 days. That's all I got.
All right. Greg, do you have an update for us? I think there was another score.
Actually, I think Ron posted it. Kansas City's leading 16-0. I missed it on the TV, but
all right. So third quarter,
early third
Kansas City
quarter.
got a field goal because they were up 13-0, so they must have got a field goal there. So we're now 16-0. Good.
They're just showing
Oh,
Taylor Swift on TV again.
jeez.
I would add too with that with Chuck. Are you eating enough that you have to eat 3 times a day? I know with mine, I do OMAD, but that's just because I get enough when I eat my one meal. But my wife, she does 2 times a day, and basically she gets enough in those 2 meals, and I have to make her eat more because she's not used to it. And I was like, you need to eat like another hamburger patty, and I'll ask her, you need me to give you, get you something else to eat, and I'll fix it for her because I want to make sure she gets enough and that she's satiated as well. But to eat 3 times a day, you may not be eating enough.
Mhm. Yeah, good point. All right, a couple of new people popped in. Lady Fritzader. She says, "Guess I'm late." That's okay. We're going to be going here for a while. We're just in the third quarter of the game, and we always go until the game is over. So it doesn't mean that everybody has to be on the entire time or anything like that. But Greg and I will be here, and so glad that you are here today, this evening, tonight.
Scotty, are you
I
going to be with us a little bit longer? I know you're going to do a show here in a little bit too.
Yeah, whatever you want. I'm here to I don't know, just be fodder for the show. Or no, whatever you all need, I'm glad to do. If you need a little comedic relief, I'll get my guitar and try to play. No, but no, I'm here for whatever you all
You
need.
can stay as long as you like. So I just know that you usually get, you get quite a few people in on your show too, and I don't want to interrupt that for you either. So.
We're good. I think sometimes it's great to not have to be in the driver's seat.
Yeah, you can hang out. The regulars will come find you in here. So
everybody here knows. Now, I have not seen everybody in here before. I've seen Christy, and of course you, Greg, but I have not really been in with the other two gentlemen much. So is there value added? And I believe there's a Ron in here. Can we do a little rundown for the gentleman in the mic? And yeah. So I know you.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. All right. So I am Brian. My channel is at Wickavore, and the name is actually Wick Goes Carnivore. So I've been carnivore for just over 15 months now. I have lost 80 pounds, and I've gone about 14 months or a little over 14 months without an AFib episode. Before I started carnivore, I was having a couple of episodes a week of AFib. I had arthritis in my big toes and top of my feet. I had a lot of joint pain, some minor depression, just never felt like doing anything. All that stuff is cleared up. No more, joint pain or any of that kind of stuff. I have a lot more energy than I used to have. I know there's all kinds of stuff that I'm missing and forgetting, but that's kind of me. I've had the YouTube channel for, I guess about 6 or 7 months or so now. I've been doing that. So I had lost already probably I think it was like around 60 or 70 pounds when I started doing the YouTube channel. So the majority of the weight I lost before that. And then I started doing the channel, and I guess that's me. So Ron, why don't we go over to you and you can tell Scott about yourself.
Okay, I'm going to tell Scott a little bit about myself, and I got a question for him. I've been doing this since April the 24th. I did this basically to lose weight, but got a lot of other benefits from it, and I did it to support my wife. And my wife started doing it because she couldn't lose weight because of a lack of a thyroid and being on beta blockers. She's been doing keto since 2012 and hasn't been losing weight. But now she's lost weight. She's lost 17 pounds. I've lost 90 pounds. And that was my question to you. You said you did it because of the belt buckle. How much weight have you lost, and how long have you been doing it?
So yeah, just under 90 days. I don't know, 86, 85. I can't remember, but July 20th was my date. You know, like when you get out of prison, you remember your date. You get out of prison.
Yeah.
July 20th was my date. And I'm down what I think to be about 30 pounds. Okay, so it's not like setting the world on fire. Now, my max weight I've ever weighed was 316 pounds. I think when I started this, I was about 306, 308, give or take, plus or minus. And I'm 6'5", so I have plenty of length to distribute it on. But part of the problem is everybody says, no, you look good. But I know I didn't, and I got the fatty liver and, the blood work and everything else. So that's one of the big things that it's always, I don't know, irked me is too strong a word, but we have a lot of social norms to make it okay to be overweight. And you know what? It isn't. I mean, it isn't okay. And I think most of us would agree with that. I mean, it happens. We got to deal with it. But anyway, so only about 30 pounds. I would like to lose about another 40 pounds if I can. But I'll be happy as a pig in slop to get under 250, right? Because that's what I was. I was a little more than that when I got out of the military. I was probably about 270 when I got out of the military. So I'd like to be able to get back my old uniform. Like I have the visions of one day when I get buried, I want to get buried in that very same uniform. I don't want to have to split the seams and stuff that's put me in the box. But yeah, kind of a bizarre, macabre set of goals. But there you go, Ron.
So how's the belt buckle now?
Pretty much better. The thing is for those of us guys who, if you do any work outside ever, right? My leather belt, and I've kind of got it folded in half because the gun lap folds it over, and it forms. But that metal belt buckle doesn't fold. But it's a lot better. The problem I have now is I cinch it in, and I've lost a lot in my waist. I don't know how many inches, but my 46 pants, my 44 pants are fitting me like my 50 pants used to fit me, right?
It's awesome.
So they gather so much that if they gather where the zipper in the clothes is, they go under the belt, and I'm back to where I started. So, but I just have to figure out. I'm too cheap to buy another belt, and so I have to reach in, pull it up over the top, and it works out okay. But I'm too cheap because I think, gosh, I had those clothes in my closet. I got my current fat guy, my future fat guy, my almost fat guy, and what I really kind of like to be sort of fat guy. So I have 4 sets of clothes.
Well, you got it covered.
Well, I had covered. I don't want to cover it anymore. I need to make room to get in my closet. But anyway, I don't want to buy more because some of the clothes I could never fit in before are like fitting, like shirts. Like love my wife. I'm blessed. 32 years. Sometimes I get clothes that show up by the clothes fairy, right? Mm-hmm. And she thought I was a 2X, but I was more like a 4. But now they all fit. And it is so cool to get into a shirt. I mean, pants, of course, but to get into a shirt that doesn't bind up. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That when you have it buttoned up in the front and the button's about ready to give up the ghost because it's about ready to pop, and now they just kind of hang. Look at that, nice and loose, and like what models wear.
Oh my gosh. Christy, you were talking about measurements that you wish you had taken measurements and so forth. Well, I did do that, but it was a month. I did it in July. So I was like a month and a half into it. And I did a video on a non-scale victory, and I remeasured myself in September, at the beginning of September, I think is what it was. So I found the measurements I took, and I did the forearms, I did the upper arms, I did my calves, my thighs, my neck, my chest, my stomach, everything. And I went back and I did all the measurements again, and I started adding it all up, and I was like just floored when I looked at all the measurements because I had lost 24 inches in my total body.
That's 2 feet.
But the most part was my chest, my stomach, and my rear. That's where I'd lost the most. But I really, my legs aren't really thick. I mean, they're muscular, but they're not really just fat, But I lost it, not as much in there or as my forearms, but my wife was saying my arms look smaller. Recently she goes, when I have my arms out and stuff, she says, "Oh, they look smaller and everything." And Scott, you say 32 years. Well, next Wednesday is my 26th anniversary with my wife. So awesome that you've been together for 32. My parents celebrated their 60th, and we had a celebration for them back in July. And I praise you for sticking, with this, that you've been there for 32 years. It's not a common thing. And you are a stand-up guy for having that, stick together for those many years, because
Well,
that takes
well,
dedication.
I way out kicked my coverage. I was slightly older when I was able to convince, i.e., beat her over the head, drag her down the aisle. And my mama knew that from a long time ago, because she made us learn how to cook and clean and darn and knit, and I had to learn all that stuff. And mama took good care of me. But no, I lucked out. I got a great
Amen.
life partner, and I think the key to that is not to look that and in the eye and not understand every day how blessed I am, and I'm sure everybody else who's had an enduring relationship feels the same way. It's a great thing, and the funny thing is, it kind of parallels what we're doing here. You can't have the same experience being married for 30 years to 3 separate people. You know what I mean?
Oh, no. It's a separate experience every time.
But like, how many times have we lost the same 30, 40, 50, 100 pounds, right?
Mhm.
We didn't lose it very good, right? So
Mhm.
one of the things that's interesting about that is, I could be wrong, but I believe that we have, until you get a certain amount of growth in your body, you have the same number of fat cells, right? For the body to create new fat cells is a major undertaking. So what happens is we volumize and we empty, but that's also the same thing with muscle atrophy. So you get them people like, Greg, you lifted weights, you played ball, you got strong. Well, generally speaking, as long as you didn't have any wasting going on and not too much apoptosis, autophagy, those same muscle fibers are there. They're just not volumized because they haven't been recruited. So I think that's what's important for us to realize, particularly for us when we can say they were former fat people. Well, our former fat storage cells are probably still going to be available. And that's why I think we're very susceptible to adding on weight, because we've already demonstrated a tremendous genetic capacity for storage. So you got to be careful. I mean, from here on out, you got to be careful. You just can't go willy-nilly off the reservation and say, I used to own an ice cream store. Let me tell you, I know how to eat ice cream. I just can't do that anymore. I can't go and eat 2 pizzas, even though I could physically do it. I can't, because I know what'll happen. I'll just be like, what was that? The Nutty Professor? What was the one with Eddie Murphy?
Mhm.
And he back out again.
Mhm.
That's what it feels like. And I look at me some pizzas and I'm like, oh, but it'd be good for a minute, but it really isn't.
All right.
All right. Couple of comments here I want to bring up. The Carnivore Cure is here. He says, "Hey guys, how's the game?" I think it's still 16-0, Kansas City. So, but hello, Todd. Carney Vlog says, "I am 6'5". Also, I can't wait to go to the Big and Tall store for the tall." Yeah.
Awesome.
And then going back to low carb carnivore, they said most days I only eat 2 times, but some days I feel like I'm always hungry. I have those days sometimes too.
Yeah.
And so, there have actually been, and it doesn't happen that often, but there have been days that I'll eat my 2 meals and I'm still hungry and end up making like some bacon or something. It's probably usually because I don't think that I ate enough in the second meal. That's probably what it is, because sometimes my second meal, I don't necessarily eat as much or as much dense food in that second meal. So I think that's usually what happens in those cases. So maybe make sure that you really are truly getting, all the way to satiated, to full before you stop eating that
I
meal.
think I was going to say one other thing I wanted to add that just kind of came to me too is, Chuck, make sure you're drinking enough water and getting some electrolytes too, because you may not be flushing things out of your system like you could be if you're not drinking enough fluids. So make sure you take a look at that too.
I always put a little extra butter. So I think I cooked a ribeye steak in one of my videos and I didn't put any butter on that one. And people were like, you need some butter on that steak. Well, I didn't feel like I wanted butter that day, but that was 2 days ago. Well, today I made the same amount of ribeye and I think I had a bite butter while I was cooking the ribeye. And then I put a big old slap of butter on each. I had 2 like half-pound ribeyes. And I put a giant pat of butter on each of those too. So to me, when I feel that extra hunger, I just add butter.
Well, and I think it's real important. If you're having 2 meals, you feel hungry. Not that we map our number of calories, but if your 2 meals are coming in less than 2,000 calories, I'm just going to go out on a whim and say, if you're coming in under 2,000 calories, you're not eating enough. That's what we were saying before. You might need to revisit and take a look at it. You may be shorting yourself calories because, again, I don't know how big you are. I don't know how much you do for work, how many calories you burn in a given day. But this is not a way, correct me if I'm wrong, because you all been doing this longer than me, but this is not a way of eating that involves a calorie deficit. And I was talking to someone last night, and talking to Greg, I think it's imperative if we can possibly find out what our basal metabolic rate is. There are a lot of things you can do to calculate it based on height, weight, but you can actually go to your doctor or go to a clinic, and they can actually get you either in a bod pod or get a hood on you and do your VO2 max and everything. And really find it, because when I did that, I found it for me and who I was, even at 310 pounds, my basal metabolic rate was almost 3,200 calories a day, not 2,000, not 2,400, but 3,200. So anytime I was eating less than 3,200 calories in a day, give or take, I was actually creating a new metabolic norm that was lower, that was going to set me up for failure later. So knowing your basal metabolic rate is imperative, so that because we want to kick our metabolism up. If you listen to Kerry at Homestead How, and he talked about how he's so hungry because he got down to his goal weight, he's been doing all this stuff, his body is saying, beat me. And if you don't do it, then you'll start going to the craving zone. So anyway, hey, look, I'm going to have to bid you all adieu. I'm going to give you back your show. I'm sorry if I took too much mic time, but hey, thank you. I'm going to go and do the late night thing, pop over there. Guys and gals are always welcome over there if you're not doing anything. You don't have to come in if you don't want to. If you want to come in, come in. But we're just going to do what works for everybody. But it's been great to get to know you, Ron, and you too, Brian. Y'all do a great job, and you're doing a great service to the community, and I appreciate you reaching out to me.
All right. Thank you, Scott, for coming on.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks for coming on, Scott. It was nice talking to you.
You bet.
It's been a pleasure, Scott.
All right.
Catch you later.
All right. Going to catch us up on a couple of comments I saw here. I had the same issue with under eating because I was too full to eat more than OMAD.
Yeah, that's my friend Rhonda. She does sprints too. I know on the days I sprint, I'm for sure hungrier. Like I get hungry for breakfast when I sprint, and I don't usually. I would never eat breakfast before.
The thing I love though about this way of eating though is that even if you have those moments where you do feel hungry, it doesn't take as much to curb that hunger like it did when you're eating a standard American diet, and especially if you have an addiction to carbs and so forth, because you can eat something in a small amount and feel full again if you need to. I'm not saying there are days like once a week or something like that where I may eat twice, but it doesn't take as much when I eat that second meal. Or I may eat maybe 1 or 2 eggs or something like that and feel fine, like 1 or 2 hard boiled eggs, and eat my regular meal later. But I find it just amazing that it doesn't really take that much to actually curb your appetite like it did before. When I was eating 3 meals a day, it was like, I was eating. And now it's like just a little bit will curb that and I can go on. So I just thought that was really neat.
Yeah. I think one thing too for me, that I found is, um, if somebody asked me how much I normally eat or like how many calories, I couldn't tell them.
I can't
I
either.
really couldn't, because I don't pay any attention to that. I literally just eat until I know that I can't eat anymore, and then I don't eat again until I'm hungry.
Right.
Perfect example, and it changes on the day, but a perfect example is a couple days ago, I had a pretty big New York strip steak that I cooked, put some butter up on top of it and everything, and seasoned it with Redmond salt. And I think it was like I don't know, it was a 26 ounce or something like that. It was pretty big, because I cut up my own steaks from Costco's, right? So I can cut them to the size I want.
Exactly.
And I don't know exactly how much I ate. I think I probably ate around 20 ounces, but that was all I could eat. Um, and so I saved the rest, and the rest was part of a second meal that I ended up eating later in the evening. Um, and then was it today? I think it was today. I had like a 24 ounce steak, and I ate the entire thing. So it just depends on when I get to the point that I'm full. And if I eat like a steak and I eat the entire steak and I still don't have that full feeling, I'll have something else with it, maybe a hard boiled egg or something, or bacon or something, just to make sure that I get to that full point. So, Greg, you got any thoughts about that? About the eating, overeat or undereating, I should say.
Yeah, I don't, I'm kind of mixed on, you know, being carnivore for 5 weeks now, I tend to still watch how much quantity I eat. Um, and I can't argue with the results. I mean, in 4 weeks, I lost 19 pounds when I just started carnivore, from going from ketovore. So, like tonight, I had 10 ounces of meat. And I'm full. I won't eat again. I mean, it wasn't, in the at noon, I had 4 eggs with some sausage in there. But that's pretty much all I had today. And I'm completely satisfied. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of mixed, because parts of me say if we're overweight and there's a lot of fat, your body will consume that. So do you really need all that extra meat? You know what I mean? Um, like I said, I'm still learning with that, but I lost a lot of that weight doing keto, and I was eating 1,300 calories a day, under 20 grams of carbs, and I lost all the weight. And I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on it. I just don't know, if a person needs to eat that much or not. I guess it hasn't hit me yet. I kind of talked to Scott last night about this a little bit, and I could see when you're closer to your goal weight, your body needs to consume fat, so it's going to you're going to be hungry and you're going to want to eat a lot. I mean, I get that and understand that, but I still have weight to lose, so I think there's plenty of fat for it to be consumed yet, I guess. But that's my philosophy on it. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. Then I was listening to what Scott said about basic metabolic rate, and hopefully I don't have troubles later on, because I'm not eating as much as I should be. So I'm still learning as we go, obviously, with carnivore. But so far, I mean, I've had a lot of success, and I continue to drop weight. So it's just one of those things.
Yeah. One of the things that I found is, if I add a little carb into my meal, I gain weight right away. And it might just be water weight, that because of the carb or something, but that happens to me. And sometimes, like, I might have a little less meat in that carb, and I've gained weight. And I can eat a lot of meat with no carb, and I actually lose weight. So for me, at least, my experience is, it seems like I have not been able to get myself to eat so much meat that I just feel bad like I used to
Right.
when I had carbs, right? And so I think that you get to this point where, and Dr. Anthony Chaffee talks about this a lot, but I've noticed this, like, I'll be eating and it's gotten to the point where it's like, yeah, I don't even want to eat this anymore. That's when you know you're really actually full. So you kind of get to that point, and it can be different at any given day as to how much it is. And the funny thing is, like, I've had that happen, and I'm like, well, great, what am I going to eat tomorrow? Because I don't want to eat this steak. And then tomorrow, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to make that steak again. So it's just funny the way it works, but that's how it's worked for me. All right, let me catch up on a few good comments that I saw here. Susan said, I really appreciate your low carb football show. I've watched it a few times, and I'm glad to be here. Great info, guests, and community. Thank you, Brian, Greg, and your guests, Ron, Christy, and Scott. So thank you, Susan.
Thanks, Susan.
Simpson was signing off. Thanks for the talk. I enjoy listening to others' journeys. So goodbye, Simpson. Thank you for watching. Look up carnivore. Even if I never get down to where I want to be, I will never go back to the sad diet. Yeah, and so here's one other thing just to throw out there. So as you said, even if I never get down to where I want to be, sometimes we think that we want to be at a certain point, but that's not where our body actually wants to be. So just keep that in mind. You might have an idea that you need to be at this weight, but your body doesn't need to be at that weight. They need to be at a different weight that's actually higher than what you think. So just keep that in mind. And another comment I wanted to bring up here real quick. Susan had said, I've lost 150 pounds.
Wow.
Due to 100 more to go. So congratulations, Susan.
Yes.
Susan.
Congrats.
Yeah, Susan's great.
All right. Oh, I got more comments already.
Well, while you're looking for comments, back with Rhonda at Carnivore Leo, I recently subscribed to her, and her little short videos on what she eats are awesome. And
doesn't she have the best looking food?
Oh my gosh.
It's like a restaurant. I tell her all the time. It's like a 5-star restaurant. I don't even like seafood, and I want to eat her food. It's like,
I know, and she looks so innocent there, and this is like the huge amount of food there, it's like, I'm going, oh, this is so cute watching this,
Yep. Rhonda's awesome.
Oh yeah. I saw her doing her sprints the other day. I was like, oh man, my knees and my joints would be just buckling right now if I did that.
Well, maybe someday, or like you said, you're going to start walking. That's amazing. It's finally starting to cool down here now too, so I'm looking forward to some evening walks.
You're in California, right?
Yes, but it was.
What's cool? What's cool in California?
When you go inland, so like I'm halfway between San Diego and LA, but I'm like an hour inland. So we're practically desert. There's many days over 100 degrees in the summer here. Yeah. So it was 100, like 2 days ago, it was 100 degrees. And then all of a sudden the next day it was like 72. So
my wife was born and raised in Downey. So
oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's where she's from, and we met in Texas.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Low carb carnivore is saying that they would like to sprint, but they're afraid that they'd fall forward and hurt themselves. Oh my gosh. Every day for the first 3 weeks, I'm like, I'm going to fall on my face, because I was like, my quadriceps did not want to hold me up.
Yeah, need that core straight.
Yes, I had that fall on the face, and I'm like on the street, like on the asphalt of the street. I'm like, I better not fall.
Well, I've always said, if you see me running, something's chasing me.
Yeah, I just gotta be faster than you, and I'm good.
If you see me running, you better be running, because something's after me.
So that's funny, because in June I was thinking, I'm going to start doing some sprinting, and I only did it for a couple of days, so I still haven't really done it the way I should, which is why I'm saying now it's getting colder, and so it'll probably be the spring. But anyway, I was so afraid of falling down on my face and other people seeing me do that I did it inside our garage. I made sure that the garage was cleared out really good. It's a huge garage. It's a pretty big garage. And I literally did it in there because I was afraid that I was going to fall. And if I fell in the garage with the door closed, nobody would notice it. Of course, that probably wouldn't have been good, because I could, who knows what I'd do. I'd knock myself out or something, falling on my head or something. But yeah, that's what I did, because I'm like, at the time, I'm trying to think, I was still like 300 pounds or so. And I'm thinking like, yeah, I'm 300-pound guy. I haven't sprinted in years, and I probably never even used the word sprint before. I haven't ran in years. I'm going to fall when I do this. So that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I'd be afraid I'd show up in somebody's ring door camera and they'd have me on America's Funniest Home Videos.
if you try that sprinting again, let me know how it goes. I'm still sprinting after my September challenge. I just do it every other day because every day was not how it's supposed to be done. It was too much.
Oh yeah, Keto Vigorian, that's true. I don't know if I could do it in a park.
Rhonda does it in a park.
Oh yeah, I saw her like on a soccer field or something.
Yeah. I'm like, well, at least if I did it there and I fell, it wouldn't be so dramatic. It wouldn't be on the street.
So Gail is here. She says howdy.
Hi, Gail.
Hi, Gail.
And then she says, "You're still yakking after 2 hours." Yes, that's what we
It's
do.
usually
here.
3.5 hours on Thursday night. So
Yeah, we just talk and talk and talk and talk. It's all good. What's happening in the game? So we're in the fourth quarter. It's still 16-0.
Yep, 12 and a half
I
minutes
haven't even
left.
been paying attention to the game, to be honest.
it's been a little lackluster.
Yeah.
It's one of those thrilling games.
Brad says, my wife and I walk 4 miles every other day. We have done well with that and low carb lifestyle.
4 miles, wow.
Awesome.
Okay. Would you do it in the park? Would you do it in the dark? I think that is a Dr. Seuss reference there. Yeah.
Right there.
And then she's asking about the game. This is the NFL Thursday night game. It's the Kansas City Chiefs against the Denver Broncos. Kansas City is winning 16-0 early fourth quarter.
Ron, are you a big football fan? Are you football?
Yeah. Oh, speaking of football, if you're a Cowboys fan, yesterday Walt Garrison died. That's pretty sad if you know Cowboys history and how he was. He's an Oklahoma State football player. He went to the Cowboys and basically started up the whole America's team thing, and he passed away yesterday at 79. Do you follow football, Christy?
When my little brother, he's like 8 or 9 years younger than me, so not professional football, but he played football and he set like a couple of he played 8-man football for a really small town where they didn't have enough to field a full team, but like he still holds the California state record for the number of touchdowns scored in a season at 52 touchdowns.
Wow.
He got inducted into there's like a Hall of Fame down in San Diego.
Wow.
So it was just kind of fun back then. And then now my son, he's in high school. He doesn't play football, but he's in the band. So he's actually at a football game right now. It's the only one all season I did not attend, but I was at every football game this season. However, I was cheering for the band. Go band.
Go band. Yeah, we have 6-man in Texas. So
6-man. Oh wow.
Yeah, they have 6-man teams for the smaller schools that can't get into the Class A and or whatever it is. I think it's A, 4A, and 5A, and 6A. They go on up, but they have the 6-man, and then they have the private schools, which are they have their own little league as well. But yeah, that's awesome. 52 touchdowns, even with 8-man.
I think it's still a California State high school football record for 8-man, and that was in 2001 that he did that. But it was fun. Like I would go to all of his, because at that point I was, out of college. He's so much younger than I am. But yeah, I would go watch all of his games, and it was fun. A lot of fun.
Now Tam Steak, she's a Cowboys fan. I wonder how much of a Cowboys fan she is.
Yeah, so let me see here. So I was going to get caught up on a few of the sports comments in here. So Brad said the Wild game is more exciting than the Chiefs game. And then Gail said she's a Niners fan now, used to be a Raiders fan until a friend moved to San Diego.
Even I get that. Even I get that joke.
Until a friend moved to San Diego. Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to tell us, Christy. What's the joke here?
Well, because the Chargers used to be in San Diego, and the
Right.
Chargers and the Raiders, that's a no-go. That's nuh-uh. Enemies. Chargers and the Raiders, that's arch enemies.
Okay. And then Tam Steak says, yeah, Cowboys are my team.
Used to cry
So
to my
much
dad.
that when I was
What?
little,
You
I
cried a
used
lot?
to cry to my dad when they lost.
Are you an 80s girl? Because if that's when you were born, yeah, you cried a lot in the 80s. So,
And Gail says she missed hockey.
Hey, Brian, can you put the ticker up for both of these guys?
Oh, yeah, I never changed it.
Switch it, or make sure you're at, whoever's listening to this, make sure you guys go to these guys' channel and give them a sub and check out their content. I'm sure they have some amazing videos, and I've seen a few of them from both of you, I believe. I try to watch a little bit of everybody, but I don't always stay on top of what's going on. But I appreciate you guys putting out content, because I know there's people out here that watch it for sure.
Yeah, Ron, I'm definitely I just subbed tonight because I didn't know about you until just now. So I just subbed, and I'm, like he just said, I definitely get on every morning when I'm getting ready for work, and I go to all the different, channels that I've subbed to and try to watch everybody's content and give them their, viewing hours and all that good stuff. So
well,
I will
I
be
returned the favor, and I did yours.
Awesome.
Yep, so there's Ron's channel, Overcoming Carbs, and Christie's is at Meeting Wellness.
Yep.
So I have both of them up there for you.
Awesome.
Oh, that's cool. You can pop two up at once. That's cool.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else out there that has a channel? Like, I know Carnivore Leo, she has hers, and it's really neat. Who else has one out there?
I'm trying
Might
to
as
think
well
who
get
I
them
saw in
plugged.
the chat.
Didn't Gail just start one?
I don't know. Gail, did you just start a channel? I know she can rhyme like Dr. Seuss, but I don't know if she started a channel.
Yeah, Sears Lion. That's right, because I put it out there on her thing. It's a lion. Lioness.
Yeah, Sears Lioness.
Yeah. And
I added it to her thing on.
I didn't connect that. I didn't know Gail was Sears Lioness. I've seen you, Gail.
Keto Vogorian, she has her own channel as well.
Right, she does. I'm subbed to both of them.
If anybody has any questions, go ahead and fire them away. Fire away.
Well, you guys wanted to hear about my cat. Do you want to hear about my cat being a carnivore?
Yeah, we haven't talked about that yet.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. So she has a little playlist on my channel, although I haven't made anything super recently. But, I heard people like Dr. Barry just talking about how bad the kibble is. And my cat Pixel is 6 years old, and she's like chubby, or she was chubby. She's definitely lost some weight now. So yeah, I start reading all the ingredients on this food, and you'd have to look at the video because I don't remember them all, but it's like rice and just all this stuff that no cat should be eating. And so I found, now I can't get her to eat, like she won't eat my scraps. She won't eat beef. She does not like chicken. There's a whole video about the cat that does not like chicken, but she likes the seafood. So tuna, salmon, all that good stuff. I fed her a sardine the other day. I think she was in cat heaven. But yeah, so it's a cat food that I bought, but it has like 2 ingredients. So it's like tuna and fish broth are the ingredients in this food. And she's been eating this way for, I don't know. Well, my channel's a little over a month old. So that's one of the first things I started doing. So a little over a month.
And how has she been?
Yeah, she's lost 1 pound.
Okay.
And I bought her some toys, and she like plays with them, like as if she was a kitten. I haven't seen her play with anything. Cats sleep a lot, but like she would sleep and then sleep some more and then never play. And then you try to play with her and she'd just give you a dirty look, But now, you probably saw her earlier. She was jumping up on that bookshelf behind me, and she's all over the place. And she has her zoomies a couple times a day, going crazy. She runs around, she chases her toys, and she hasn't done that for, since we first got her 6 years ago. So, I mean, it's just been really good for her. Good. It's pretty incredible, the difference. So.
Now I have 3 dogs. I have 2 labs and a little chapam. Greg, do you have any animals? No, Brian?
Nope.
Yep. So I have a dog that just started carnivore a few weeks ago, and I have 4 cats. The cats are really the excuse me. The cats are like the kids and my wife's animal. The dog was more my dog. So
And they get along?
what's that?
They get along? They tolerate each other?
They do, yeah. And so of course, when they need to talk, I start coughing. Hold on a second. So, since my dog has gone carnivore, she seems to be more playful with the other cats and so forth. With the cats, I should say, not the other cats, but the cats. So she has been playing with them a little bit more than she used to. Like she used to maybe a little bit, but wasn't really sure she wanted to, that type of thing. And lately, it seems like she's been a little more playful. So that's pretty cool. Saw a question here about Ron's channel. It's at Overcoming Carbs, but I'm going to get the exact link here for you and put it in the chat. So let me show that. So there it is. That is his exact channel link.
I wonder where I'm at now. I was so close to 300 before.
That's awesome. Did you hit it?
Nah, I was at 298 this morning, went down to 295, and now I'm back to 298. So I'm getting there.
Yeah, you'll get there.
And I'm going to put Christie's in here too.
Thank you. Yeah, I hit 500 the other day. That was a pretty sweet.
And you're even more than that.
I am now, but yeah, it was like, I don't really know what day it was. A few days ago, I hit 500 and I was like, woohoo.
And there is the exact link to Christie's channel.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I'm having a ton of fun with it. And we do a Lioness Lifestyle Live. If you guys haven't seen that, it's me and I've seen Sarah's Lioness in there with us. It's like a women focused on women's issues, meat-based eating and women's health issues. And we are booked all the way through December. Like every Tuesday through December, we have another woman coming on. And so I think like what Scott was saying earlier, we're all trying to find our little gap or niche in the space. Yeah, I think we found it. So it's myself and a couple other meat-based, like I'm the carnivore, there's a ketovore and a lion diet. It's Ellie at Nourishment Redacted. Show you her. And then Lindsay at Lindsay Lexus. And yeah, so every Tuesday we're on with a different, either any meat-based, like carnivore, ketovore, all meat-based eaters, welcome. But yeah, it's a great time. And yeah, I was just looking forward to making that grow because I think it was kind of an area that people wanted to see, I think.
Well, thanks, Susan.
Hey, Susan.
Right. So, Greg, your channel has exploded, right? With that, was it Newsweek? With a Newsweek article that they featured you on? How's your channel looking right now?
Pretty good. I mean, it was pretty crazy last week. I guess I didn't really look to see how many subs I gained. I think this week it's been much slower, but the last week and a half before that, it was like 500 or 600 subs I probably gained. For sure. And I know the Newsweek article helped. And then I think more and more people are hearing my story. And I think that helps too. And, everything kind of fell into place at the same time with, my 8-month weight loss, losing over 100 pounds, the article hitting and just a little bit of everything, I guess you could say. So.
Yeah. I just looked at your numbers. You're like well over 1,000. Way to go, man.
Yep. Yeah, you just got to keep putting content out. I think that's the key, and be consistent. And, it's just, I started my channel like a year ago, I believe. And it started off as a review channel. I was called the review guy and I was reviewing mostly food products. And then as my lifestyle changed, I started reviewing the weight loss products, for a lot of keto friendly or net carb stuff. And then, as I learned, obviously I went away from a lot of that stuff, but it was good though. I mean, I still have one video. I think it's got like 26,000 views, and I still get like 70 views every 48 hours on it.
Nice.
So yeah, it's okay. I'm glad it's up, and people are still watching it and stuff, and they'll comment once in a while. But yeah, definitely all switched, and yeah, it's been awesome. It's been a lot of fun. Now I'm just trying to get my watch hours up. I don't know. Some videos do really well, and you get a lot of hours, and then others aren't so hot. So, and you never know which one it's going to be. The video you think is going to be great doesn't do squat. I mean, I had that happen last week. It was my big 100-pound reveal, 100-pound weight loss, and I think I had 200 some people watch it. Was it? And I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Wow.
So it's kind of funny how it works.
Like learning thumbnails and editing and all this stuff I've never done before. It's just been like an exciting challenge for me.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. You just get better, and that's the goal. Just get better with each one. That's the goal, and it'll come. Don't get frustrated. Just keep plugging away. I mean, I never thought I'd get to 1,000, and I finally made it. So it's like,
yeah, that's awesome.
You all seen Steven Stuff, the new carnivores and loving it? Their channel is fun to watch. I don't think I've heard of them.
I haven't heard about them.
Let's see if I can find them.
You can find them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look right now.
Oh, and by the way, whoever just joined, I got 300 just now.
Woohoo! Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank y'all for joining.
So there's a Steven Stuff that has 167,000 subscribers.
Wow. No, I found one that's a video that says dry aging. Does it make our carnivore meals taste better? Steven Stuff. I think that's got to be it.
Yeah, that's them. 167,000 subscribers.
Really?
Wow.
Let me see.
I wonder if they were doing something else before.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
100,000.
Yep. Wow.
They're doing dumpster diving. Oh, I've seen them. Yeah, they were doing other things, and they started about a month or two ago doing carnivore.
Okay.
Yeah, interesting.
Let's see.
Let me try something here. All right, so there you go. If you can see that, he's at 300 subscribers now.
Trying to see.
That is.
Yay! Oh, there it is. Yay!
Yep.
Hide that real quick. There we go.
If you want, I can show you my blood work that I had back in April. You want me to pull it up?
I went to my doctor today, and I'm going to have blood work taken, but I don't have anything to compare it to. That's what I was that's why I was asking you if you did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very interesting conversation because she sure thinks this diet's going to kill me.
Oh yeah, I bet. I'm glad my doctor doesn't think that. Let's see. Let's see if I can find it here.
So while Ron's trying to pull that up, it's funny because I went to my doctor on Monday and had my blood work done. And when I first started doing, I said I was doing low carb. He was like, "Oh, you can't do that. That's really bad for you. You know, it's going to be all kinds of problems. Your cholesterol is going to go sky high and all this stuff." So I didn't even bother saying, well, I'm actually doing carnivore. So I just left it at that. And the funny thing is, like, he came in today and he's like, well, you've lost more weight again. Wow. And not today, but I'm sorry, that was on Monday. And then I got the blood work results back and he sent me a message after that. And he's like, yeah, you're doing great. These levels are great. They're like the best that I think my levels have ever been, to be honest.
Awesome.
And he probably doesn't have any clue that he probably doesn't think I'm even still doing low carb, because my numbers really are not that bad. Like my LDL is like a 104. So it's not even that high. It's higher than it used to be, but it's not that high. My triglycerides, said a year and a half ago, were 278 or 273, something like that. They're 107 right now.
Yeah.
So, my numbers look great. So I'm not even gonna try and explain it. Yeah, that I'm only eating meat, because that might give him a heart attack. I don't know.
Well, I don't go to the doctor a lot, and I did find another doctor that's like on one of those low carb doctor, websites, and my insurance, she does take my insurance. So I just figure I'm gonna tell my doctor everything, see what happens. And she wasn't like mean about it, but she definitely told me, because when I was telling her about, I feel like my inflammation is better, she goes, "Oh, well, keto is not an inflammation reducing diet." That's what she said to me. And then by the end of it, it came out like, yeah, I told her keto, but then, but I'm not eating any vegetables. And she goes, "So you don't eat any fruits or vegetables at all?" And I said, "Nope." And she was just like, "Fascinating." That's what she said. Fascinating. So, but she sure thinks my cholesterol is going to go through the roof. And she said, "I sure hope I don't have to tell you that you're killing yourself." And I said, "You might tell me that, and then we'll have to agree to disagree, I guess." And, but she wasn't like, she wasn't lecturing me. She said she can't argue with my weight loss, and she can't argue with, like, I don't look, and I said, I'm turning 48 in a week. And she said, "Well, you don't look anywhere near 48, and your skin looks great, and you've lost weight, and you're feeling great." So yeah, couldn't argue with that.
So Ron, real quick before you take it away here with your labs, just going to give an update in the game. I don't know if somebody said it already, but Denver got a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, so it's 16-8.
Ooh, okay.
Kansas City has the ball with just under 5 minutes to play, and they have a 3rd and 2. All right, so Ron, go ahead and share your labs with us.
This is when I had it done in April 4th. And my total cholesterol was 158. My HDL, which was less than the 40, it was at 38. My triglycerides were 203, way up there, but who cares? LDL was at 91. My ratio was 4.2, so she wasn't concerned because it was 4.2. And my non-HDL was 120. And then my glucose, like I said, whenever I went in for my fasting, glucose was at 113. And my urea, the bun, was at 18. So my kidneys were working fine. The creatinine was 80.86. EGFR was 104, getting close up there. I don't know. I've never understood why it's not applicable. I think they say something on there about because it's in range, they don't really care or something. I think is what it says. But then all the electrolytes here were in the normal range. Protein, albumin, the globulin, the ratio 1.4, everything looks good there. Now here is where they talk about your liver. And back in 2016, I was high. This was 2016 back here. I had blood work done at a different place. This is all done at Quest, so they didn't have the readings in between. But my AST and my ALT were both raised, so I was having some issues at that time back in 2016, but they never did anything. They never said anything to me. I didn't even see these numbers until I came out here. But then my number was, let's see, it was 16 this time and 12. I think it may go up from there, but here is my HSCRP. And this is my cardiovascular risk. So I was right here. Consider retesting in 1 to 2 weeks to exclude a benign transient elevation in the baseline CRP value. So I was high on my CRP back in April. But here's where I was talking about my testosterone was 169. And I think carnivore, old guy carnivore, his is like in 500s or something like that. And from just being on this way of eating, so that's going to be interesting. And here I was slightly high on my TSH, so she decided to put me on a thyroid medication, and then my A1C was a 6.2. So then the other stuff was just normal. And that's all about the red blood cells and the white blood cells and your hemoglobin and everything. Platelets, everything's pretty much normal. Nitrophils, it's all right. Now, Christy, do you know anything about the nitrophils or the lymphocytes or what they all are?
I don't. I think some of that blood work stuff just kind of passed me by because I didn't have any. So this blood work that I'm getting, I have it scheduled for the 20th. That's the first blood work I've really had because I had it like when I was pregnant, but I don't know what those results were. It was just like what they give you when you're pregnant. I have no baseline comparison. So yes, I'm not a blood work expert. I had to ask my doctor for an A1C and a fasting insulin. She wasn't going to do it.
Wow.
Beast, I'm not going to do it. And I said, well, she said, I don't usually do it. And she was asking like, why do you want it? So I explained why I wanted it. And she did add it. Like she did add it on there, but she made me work for it. She wasn't going to do it, normally.
Okay. And Gail says she knows about neutrophils and maybe she can enlighten me.
Yes, please. I've heard it. Like I've heard the term, but I don't know much about it.
But my vitamin B12, she said she wanted a lot higher than that, so she put me on an injectable. Along with my testosterone, have to do with white blood cell count, mine are low. Okay. So neutrophils, it looks like I'm pretty low, or down to 51.1. I don't know what it's supposed to be. They don't give you a range on that, do they? There it is, absolute neutrophils. They're not real bad. But this neutrophils percentage, 51.1%. Lymphocytes was up. Let's see, B12, PSA. The total PSA value from this assay system is standardized against the WHO. The test result would be approximately 20% lower when compared to all right. So 0.28. It's 0.28 bad for a PSA? I mean, they want you less than 4, and I'm way less than 4.
Yeah, no, I think the lower the numbers, the better there. So
okay.
I think you're good.
And what do they say? Oh, the reporting. This is where they just talk about what was high and what was low. Metabolic syndrome. Developing heart disease and diabetes if you have 3 or more of the following risk factors. Okay. Oh, yeah. Large waste management, 40. Oh, yeah. It's a lot larger than 40. And I probably met all those that had metabolic syndrome. Triglycerides. So that's what they took back in April. And I want to find out what I'm going to have here next week. So,
yeah, I'll stay tuned. I'm assuming you're going to make a video, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Cool. I'm going to stay tuned for that one.
Kansas City just kicked a field goal. It's 19-8 with 1:55 left in the game.
Wow.
Oh, wow. I'm just watching the field goal right now. I wonder why I'm behind.
I get all my blood work on Monday. I went and had it taken on this last Monday, and I have my physical Monday, and they're going to go over all my numbers. The only thing is they did call me the day after my blood work and just said my potassium was low, and they increased my medication that I take on that because it's been low. So they just said they discuss anything else when I came in. So I'm guessing the numbers probably came back okay, or they would have made me make changes right away. So we'll find out.
Yeah, they told me today they don't even want to reschedule. They're like, yeah, we'll just call you like with the results. So she doesn't even do appointments like post blood work appointments.
So. Yeah, that's how my doctor is too. They just either they call or actually they have a web portal, and usually they just send me a message in there.
Yeah.
Unless there's something bad, then they might want me to come in or something. But... All right, so yeah, I wonder why I'm like a minute behind you tonight. Usually we're about the same on the game.
Huh. Hey, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Becky. Thank you for the super thanks this week on my video. I really appreciate it, and thank you for your support. She was my very first super thanks. Now that I can get super chats and stickers and thanks.
Awesome.
So. Make sure you guys check out her channel too. She's been growing steadily, and she puts out a lot of great videos. So
she said she just used Own Your Labs, and that was a good experience.
Yeah, I was thinking about maybe doing that too, Becky, for just what if my doctor's not going to give me tests that I want. She gave me the 2 that I asked for. I took Dr. Tony Hampton's advice. I caught him on a live. It was like a really small live on a small channel. So I'm like, I'm going to take a chance and ask him a question. So I was like, told him how old I was, that I'm carnivore, that I don't have like prior blood work to compare it to. So what else should I get, if anything, besides the standard panel? And he's the one who told me to get the fasting insulin. And but when I asked her for that, she was like, well, why do you want that? And she wasn't going to do A1C. I think he assumed that she would do A1C. She said she only does A1C in her overweight patients. I said, well, can I have these?
My doctor doesn't do an A1C either, but luckily the place I work, they let us do the A1C test once a year, and that they pay for. So I've been able to get it the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, my doctor doesn't do it either.
Yeah. So Becky, I might do that after I get this round of labs back. Like when it's time to do them again, if I feel like I need any other tests and I don't think she'll do it, then I might do that too.
Dr. Barry has a video too about which ones to order. When you do that, he gives you like 13 of the tests or something you want to order when you do it, when you do that on your labs.
Yes.
I know a lot of keto people on Instagram do that. So I know one lady does that all the time. That's the way she does it, because she doesn't have standard insurance. She does her own because she's an influencer, so she has to get her insurance through a different thing.
So little update in the game. Denver just fumbled the ball and Kansas City recovered, so it's pretty much over. They're just taking a knee here.
I was going to say the game's going to be over early tonight.
Oh, early one.
Yeah, it is.
Usually we go almost 3 hours and 29 minutes. It's kind of crazy, but tonight it's only at 3:07. So
3:07.
Well, Kansas City, it's quite interesting. Another lackluster performance. They're winning, but
yeah, it's not pretty.
Not very well.
Yeah, it's not like what I'm used to seeing from them.
It's not San Francisco pretty, because they're the team to beat.
Wow. Next week is Saints versus the Jaguars next week. Another barn burner, I'm sure.
There hasn't been that many great Thursday night games, unfortunately, but I guess the good thing is we aren't missing a good game by being on here.
They're not missing out on much, huh? 1 minute left.
I was going to say, I know on my channel, I could do this, but I asked a question. I'll go ahead and ask it to the group. But what other topics would you like to see us talk about on future shows? I'll just throw that out there. If anybody has anything they'd like to see us talk about on the Thursday night football party, go ahead and throw it out there, because me and Brian are always looking at ideas and things to talk about for the group. So
Okay, one thing you might even think about, and one thing I want to ask tonight is, after starting this way of eating, has there been a change in your taste buds as far as what you eat? And what I mean is, what do you find satisfying that you used to not find satisfying, or what is something that you can't stand to eat any longer? To
Are
me,
you
it's
asking that?
chicken.
Are you asking that right now? Because I can talk
Yeah,
about that right now. Okay, ground beef. I'm over it.
you're over ground beef.
Yes.
Mine is chicken. I mean, that's what we used to eat all the time was chicken, but now I'm just like, when I eat it, I just don't feel like I have eaten anything. I
Yes. If
just
I
it's
eat chicken, I'm hungry in 2 hours. Even chicken thighs, skin on, all
oh
that. I'm
yeah.
hungry in 2 hours. I have to have some beef with it. But I still like it. I still like chicken. I just can't only eat chicken.
I'm not gonna touch what she just said.
Let's discuss. Now, Becky, if you tell me I have facial hair, I'm going to be upset.
Oh, that's a
Hold it
loaded
down
one.
for the girls, okay? Somebody's got to do it.
Now, has anybody's hair gotten darker? I've heard about people's hair on carnivore, their hair getting darker. Has that happened with anybody?
So I color mine, so I don't know, but I have an appointment in like a week and a half. I'm curious to see, because I just have a few grays, but I'm wondering if I've heard some people keep their grays and some people get rid of them. So my sister-in-law does my hair, so I know she'll tell me the truth. I'll be like, hey, what's going on with those grays? Are they reducing? But there's too much fake color in there for me to know.
What about you, Greg?
I don't think I notice it in my hair so much yet, but I notice it on my skin and my face. I appear younger. There's no doubt about that one. Especially I look in the mirror every day. It definitely, I do. The skin looks a lot better. I'll take that for sure. And if it makes my hair darker, I'm okay with that.
So
Oh my gosh, you need to
I
put
gotta
a yells thing up there.
I gotta tell you, which one is hers?
That one right there at
Yeah,
10:10.
that's funny.
The one about chicken?
Yeah,
The goat cheese Alfredo. Yeah, that one.
puts it all over her thighs.
Oh, she had something else on here too. I was gonna put up here. I ate nothing but ground beef and eggs all of September. I'm over it, but I can't afford to buy steak this month.
I know that feeling.
So I want to go back to the hair thing real quick though, because
Okay, yeah. Let's hear about the hair.
This is like a real thing for me. Like, if you go back and look at some of my earlier videos, there's more gray in my beard. There's less gray here now.
Really?
But here's the thing, like, I can't really say how much of it is carnivore or possibly something else, because I've been taking I don't know if you've heard of Cerule, but they have this product called the Stem Enhance Ultra, and it basically helps your stem cells renew quicker, and so that could do it as well. So I don't know if it's carnivore or if it's that, or if it's a combination of both or what. But yeah, I do have less gray in my beard than what I had before.
So see, there you got a topic next time. Let's talk about things that have changed that aren't like related to eating. What are some physical changes that have occurred?
Yeah, absolutely. Can I give Gail some advice, since all she has is ground beef and she's over it?
Sure.
Gail, I'm over it too. But recently I don't even know what to call them, but I use like my muffin tins that I don't like make muffins or cupcakes anymore. And I took the ground beef and I mixed it with pork panko, and then I pressed it into the muffin tins, like in made little like cups of meat. And then I filled them with different stuff, like bacon and a little bit of cream cheese in one, bacon and egg in another one, cheddar cheese with a little bit of mustard, stuff like that. And they're really, really, really good. And if you want to know there's a recipe on my channel if you want to try it, but like I can eat ground beef like that. But like the beef bowls that I was just like, yes, this ground beef bowl is delicious. I don't want that. Not anymore. I'm off of that now.
You need to make those egg bites too out of those muffin tins, line it with bacon and so forth, and then put an egg in there and bake it in the oven and do it with all kinds of stuff that way.
Yeah. So with it's a really good tip. So the egg bites, I haven't tried with just the egg, but I mean, I just cracked a whole egg, like, so the ground beef on the bottom, the whole egg in there, so that even when you bake it like that, then the yolk even stays runny, and then bacon, and yeah, they were good. It was good like that. I could eat it like that. I made them twice in a few days because that's how much I liked them.
Try pork too. I mean, I have made a pork roast. It's cheap, but you get it and you get a good one, and you cook it for about 6 hours in the oven. Oh my gosh, it's great.
So Gail, going back to, she's talking about the stem enhanced ultra stuff, the Bart case stuff. She says it's supposed to be good. Yeah. So since I'm hosting tonight, I'm gonna actually plug this. Bart got me going on Cerule, and I take the stem enhanced ultra. I take the plasma flow and the Cyactive joint stuff. And again, because I'm doing carnivore, there's always going to be the question about how much is carnivore and how much is that. But I do know that when I first started taking that stuff, within the first couple of weeks, my energy levels went up a lot from where they were. So I definitely see that. Anyway, so yeah, I've been selling that stuff as well, just like Bart does. So I'm going to plug this really quick just because I
You're
want
gonna
to.
plug a product.
Yes, I am. So let me find. Oh, here we go. So I'm gonna put this link out here. If you're interested, all the information that you want on it is going to be in this link. If I can ever get to show up, okay.
Yeah, it came
Um,
up.
so it's got all the product information in there. It's got there's like several studies and different things like that that's been done and all that stuff. So you can go read the information and see if it's something that you want to do or not. And if not, then that's fine. There's a cost associated with buying them, and so and Bart always says this, and I'll say this too. Like when you're on the carnivore diet, you don't need any kind of supplement really, as long as you're eating the right foods. You should be getting everything you need. If you're early on, you might need something with electrolytes because that tends to be an issue earlier on than it is after you've been on it for a while. But this isn't really necessarily a supplement. This is something that kind of it's a nutraceutical, so it kind of it goes along with it and helps to enhance things. So that's the way I'll put it. But so if you're interested, go check out that link and it'll give you a bunch of information. Or you can just hit me up and ask me questions. Or you can hit Bart up if you know him and ask him questions because I think it's pretty good stuff. But that's it. I'm just gonna plug it real quick. That's it.
I got two things though that he says you don't need supplements, but 80% of humans are deficient in magnesium because we just don't have it like we used to. It's not in the soil, and it's not in the water that we drink, and everybody needs to really look at magnesium though, because it's really helped me and my wife taking it. And you got to take the right kind too. Glycinate is basically for mood and sleep. Malate is for muscles. If you're having a problem with constipation, do citrate, things like that. But we're all deficient in that. And the other thing is that if you have had your gallbladder removed, my wife, they told us the gallbladder really wasn't necessary, and it's not a necessary thing. You can get rid of it and you're good, you're fine. But your bile production is not as good. And so when you start carnivore, if you've got any issues with digestion or anything like that, you really need to look at enzymes with ox bile and to get that in, because it was a game changer for my wife. Um, when she started this and eating more fat and so forth, she was having all kinds of issues right after she ate. She got the super enzymes by now, and with the ox bile, and you take one right before you eat, and it is like total game changer for her as far as this diet is concerned. So if you're having issues with digestion, I would suggest that you go and get an enzyme and just see if it helps. It's like a $30 thing for the enzymes, and you take one before each meal. And if you're only eating once or twice a day, it's not that big of a deal, it'll last you a couple months.
Yeah. And going back to the magnesium, definitely if you're early on, that's one of the electrolytes you have to watch for. Magnesium, potassium, and sodium really are the big three. So if you're newer on carnivore, you might need to pay attention to that and take some electrolytes. For people that have been doing it for more than a year or so forth, unless they're doing like a lot of sweating or something where they're losing electrolytes, they're probably doing okay just with what they're getting in their food.
Right.
So that's the big key is, again, it kind of goes back to what I say, like where everybody's different, and somebody will look and watch somebody's video and say, well, they're not doing that, so, or they're doing this, so that's what I should be doing. Well, not necessarily. And like, you might watch a video of somebody saying that they don't take any supplements. Well, they also, they've been doing the diet for a year or 2 years or something, and you might be just starting, so you might need certain things. Or there might just be people out there that there might be certain things that they just are always low for some reason. And they need that. So there are different things like that. Yeah. Oh, I'm seeing something about the goat cheese again.
I want that goat cheese Alfredo recipe. Never heard of that before.
Now, is it really Alfredo? I want it too.
Sounds delicious.
I gotta guess it's got heavy cream, butter, and probably the goat cheese and maybe a cream cheese in it too, or the goat cheese is the cream cheese.
Mm-hmm.
So is that what she's talking about? Was that part of the Alfredo, the goat cheese?
Yeah, the goat cheese Alfredo that she puts on her chicken thighs.
Mm.
Now, if you want some really inexpensive goat cheese, go to Aldi. If you got an Aldi, they have the goat cheese, and it's not cost you an arm and a leg like it does like if you go to another grocery store.
Good tip. I have an Aldi close by. Is it like their brand, Happy Farms or something? I think is their brand.
I just saw goat on it. I don't even know what the brand is.
I'm gonna go Aldi and look for the goat. Then I'm gonna make some goat cheese Alfredo out of it.
Now, Brian, you get your meat from Costco a lot of times. Where else do you get it from?
Most of it is from Costco. I will get some stuff from Aldi, but typically I don't get beef from there because it's more expensive than what I can get it at Costco.
Right.
But you can find chicken pretty cheap at Costco. At Aldi. So I will get chicken there sometimes. I usually get eggs there. That's usually the cheapest that I can find eggs. I haven't really been eating cheese, but sometimes I get cheese there too. Those really, for the most part, the places that I shop. Occasionally, like there's some of these other places. There's a Weiss, Shoppers, there's a Publix, and a Giant in our area. Oh, and there's a Wegmans. The Wegmans is usually expensive, but sometimes there will be a deal on something, and I'll go there and get it. But typically, most of the stuff that I get is Costco, and I mean, it's like for instance, the last time I went to Costco was like, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago or something. And my meals are so simple now. I got a couple of strip loin roasts, the big things. I cut them into New York strips. What I got? I think I might have gotten some butter. I think I got some chuck. And that might have been about it. And I mean, it's lasting me because I just don't eat a lot of other stuff. I got some eggs from Aldi. Oh, I got bacon too from Costco. I got they get these 4-pound or 4 packages.
They got a good price on bacon.
Yeah. And that's about it. And I don't have a lot of variation, so it lasts for me. Greg, how about you? What have you been doing? typically at one store, or how do you do that?
I mean, I'll pick up some stuff at Aldi, and then we have what's called Hy-Vee. It's a grocery store. I usually get stuff there. We have a Fairway that they're kind of big in Iowa, and then I'm just looking forward to when I can go to buy from a local farmer and get like a quarter or a half cow. That would be nice. Down the road here, I hope to, but for right now, I got to make do with what I can buy. So.
I saw the going rate right now for the market price for beef cattle is $1.83 a pound just the other day. So if you can, one thing we used to have where I used to live was they had a sale every weekend that you could just go, and they had a processing plant that was just like right down the road from it. And you can go buy yourself a calf, at the market price and then take it down and have it processed. And they said typically processing is about $750, I think, for processing costs on a whole cow or calf. So if you can get your hands on that, you could probably get about $4 a pound usually for your meat. It's just you got to have that big upfront money, right? And then you save it from then on, but you got to have it up front. That's one thing that I can't do right now.
Yeah, everything's more here. So everything you just said, but it would end up being between $7 and $8 a pound here. Because we looked into getting, like my mom and my brother and I were probably going to share a half of a beef. So, but yeah, all the prices, like I think the on the hoof price wasn't $1 something. It was like $2 something. And then and then it costs more for there's a price for the butchering a price for the kill. And then a price for the butchering. And I forget all of that, but it worked out to like between $7 and $8 a pound for the final beef. Yep. So that's California for you. How it goes.
Well,
if you go to restaurants though, like aren't the steaks normally like $120 for a steak?
Oh, you could find that for sure easily. We were just, so my son's birthday, so it wasn't that much. We were just at like a Cheesecake Factory, and I made a little short because I was like, I went to Cheesecake Factory and I ordered nothing because I called ahead, and my plan was I was going to do like the Alfredo, but just the chicken and the sauce and like leave the, and I thought I could do that. Well, when I called, that Alfredo sauce was all full of seed oils, like canola and whatever. And I was like, nope, not gonna do that. And then the steak was like $40, but it was like for a little steak that wasn't even going to fill me up. So yeah, I sat there and ate butter. They had real butter on the table. I ate butter while everyone else had their carby, whatever they were having. And I just hung out with the family. And then later when I came home, I made my ribeye. But oh yeah, that's not like an expensive place. That's just a regular place. But yes, you can easily spend that on this. Oh yeah.
I like Gail's comment right there about the local butcher selling the beef.
So there's a butcher the next city up for me, and I keep saying I'm going to go, and I haven't gone yet. I'm curious to see what their prices are because it's called the Meat Boutique, and they just sell meat, but I haven't gone in there. They don't like have a website, so I don't know. But I want to check it out and see.
Gail, if you have a Aldi, I know in our local Aldi they have grass-fed ground beef this week for $4.49 a pound. It's $85.15 grass-fed at Aldi. So I don't know if you have one, but you might want to check that out. Yeah, we don't eat out anymore. I mean, the last time I ate out was probably February or March of this year. Was the last time I ate out.
We just, because it was my son's birthday and his, grandparents wanted to get together and stuff. So that's what we did. But yeah, I haven't, other than that, I think we went, so our 25th wedding anniversary, you guys were talking about wedding anniversaries earlier. Our 25th wedding anniversary was in June, and we were in Vegas and we ate, but I was carnivore then. I ate steak. And I think there was one meal, it was rare because I had a pound of chicken wings and a ribeye. And just for me was like $100 or something. Yeah. But whatever. How often do you have your 25th wedding anniversary? That's what I said.
Yeah, my wife and I, we went to a place called Rudy's Barbecue here, and we just got a pound of the sliced meat and a pound of the ribs, and it was $60 just for the two of us to eat that. And we just nibbled on it, and that's all we ate. You know, we just ate half a pound each, so of each one of the items.
All right. Well, we are hitting 3.5 hours. The game's been
Yeah.
over for a while. So I think we're gonna kind of close and I can't even talk. Probably 'cause I'm tired. I have to work tomorrow morning.
Usually
It's
that's at the
11:30
start,
here.
Brian.
Huh?
Usually you can't talk at the start.
I know it's the
All
entire time now. So the low carb football party. So I got it right. At least I could say that part. I could say that right. I couldn't say anything else. But no, yeah. So I think we're gonna kind of wind it down here. Greg, you got anything that you want to share at the end here?
No, I've got only thing I was gonna say. I actually have an MRI tomorrow, so pray that it goes well, because the last one I didn't make it through it. So they gave me some Valium to hopefully I can make it through it. And then, I have my appointment Monday. I'll find out my blood results. And then, I don't know, kind of the next steps for me and what I'm going to be doing in the future probably is what's going to happen. But, I'm busy taking care of my mom. So one day at a time.
Well, yeah, best wishes with your MRI.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully I can make it through
well, you're in like a little tiny tube. I wouldn't like that either.
Yeah, a little smaller this time, so maybe it won't be so bad. There'll be a little more breathing room for me.
There you go.
I have a horror story about that. So
yeah,
I do not envy you on that one.
Yeah.
All right. Ron, anything you want to say here at the end before we go?
No, I just want to thank everybody for subscribing to my channel, get me to 300. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for asking me to come on here. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Enjoyed meeting Christy. Christy, you're a pleasure.
Thank
it
you.
was fun.
Yeah.
And hope to talk to you again sometime. And all
Absolutely.
y'all.
Yep.
Really
I like
it.
to interview people on my channel. So if your email is your email on your channel? So I'll shoot you an email and we'll set something up. That'll be fun.
It's easy. Everything of mine is overcoming carbs. There's nothing different.
Cool.
Instagram, Facebook, email is overcomingcarbs@gmail.com. And
easy.
It's all easy.
Cool. Okay. Well, I invited myself on. I wasn't invited. I just emailed. I think I emailed Brian and Greg and said, "Hey, you want a guest? I'm over here." So thank you for not turning me away and thinking I was being annoying.
Yeah, we're glad you could come on for sure.
Absolutely. It was a blast. Yeah.
Thank you, Gail.
All right. Anything else you want to say, Christy, before we drop?
No, just thanks for having me. It was fun. And it was nice meeting everybody too.
Thank you, Christy.
Yep.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
All right. So as far as I know, we're going to be back here again next Thursday, right, Greg?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So we'll be here again next Thursday. I think Greg's probably hosting next Thursday since I hosted this time. So we'll be here again next Thursday. So check us out, 8:00 p.m. Eastern time, 7:00 p.m. Central time. All right, everybody. So thank you for joining, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Bye, everyone.